women used to retire at 60, so it was aligned with that. Now what Labour want to do is align it with the pension age, so you will still get it if you're in pension or any other exemptions,
but not over 60.
But not over 60. And that also opens the door to get rid of subsidised travel, everything for over 60s.
Look, Starmer, you lot, leave old people alone. What is wrong with you?
They don't like
These
old people.
Seniors, so leave them alone. Just because they don't vote Labour. I'll tell you why they don't vote Labour, Mr Starmer, because they've got common sense, that's why. Stick with Petrie, she'll take you through to 1 a.m. You've been an amazing audience, I've been an amazing presenter, and I'm going to do it all again tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Be there!
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, good evening to you. This is Petrie with you now until 1 o'clock tomorrow morning. Got a packed show for you as ever. Coming up at midnight, I do want to talk to you about this. Labour have failed to rule out scrapping free prescriptions for the over 60s. And I just want to know whether you think actually they should be scrapped. Now, not for people of pension age, and those with exemptions will still be exempt. But here's a statistic for you. Just over 95% of all prescriptions in this country are dispensed with exemptions. So they're dispensed free. They don't make any money from those prescriptions. Now, if they scrap this for people over 60, between 60 and 66, because you'd still get free prescriptions at pension age, they stand, they say, to make £225 million a year from people between the age of 60 and 66 in having to pay for their prescriptions, right? But a lot of doctors and pharmacists are saying this is a false economy because people over the age of 60 may have health concerns and they may put off taking medication because of the cost. It's nearly £10 now per prescription, per item on your prescription, right? So if you get 3 things, obviously that's going to be nearly 30 quid. And a lot of people are saying, look, I can't really afford that. But if you're working and you're over 60, why should you get free prescriptions? I mean, that's the question, isn't it? Really. They say 60 is the new 50. Many 60-year-olds are having to work. They certainly don't have the possibility of retiring unless they've got some gold-plated private pension or, you know, they work for the public sector. So a lot of people are still working. So if you're still working, why shouldn't you pay? And that kind of goes as well. This opens the door to removing other subsidies from those between 60 and 66. It could remove subsidised travel. It could remove, you know, in London, I think you get a travel pass at 60 where you get free buses and you get subsidised tubes, or are they free as well? Yeah, okay, so it's worth a lot, and of course it has to be paid for, so it's paid for by the Mayor of London. So that would open the door to get rid of that as well, and I don't know if you have similar things in your neck of the woods, but would this money be better spent in the NHS? Because we know that Rachel Reeves has now run out of that headroom that she had. She had 22.5 billion in headroom, of financial headroom in borrowed money, basically. It then went down to 9.9 billion because of all the pledges she'd made on pay rises, etc. And now, because of the interest rates, it's gone down to 1 billion. That's all she's got left to spend. I promise you, that's all she's got left to spend is about £1 billion. So they're going to be coming back to us for more money. So if you're over 60 and you're still working, shouldn't you pay for your prescriptions? Should you pay full travel costs? People in their 30s have to, right? Why is it that we think that at 60 we should get a freer ride? Give me a call. I'd be really interested to know what you think about this. There's lots of people, the Express have said lots of older people already feel let down. It does feel like he's just picking the pockets of the older people. This is as well would be very popular with the 16-year-olds that he wants to vote, because he can say, look, there's rich, really rich old people, which isn't true. I've taken all this away from the winter fuel, free prescriptions till retirement, all of that. That's all gone. So, look, I'm looking after the youth. It's going to be ploughed back into the NHS. And don't forget that point that I made. From £22 billion of fiscal headroom, Rachel Reeves has apparently £1 billion left in the coffers to spend. She's going to take it from somewhere. And she's going to take it from someone. Should it be you at the age of 60 losing? I mean, and the NHS eye tests as well are free. I don't know where you get an NHS eye test, but anyway, NHS eye tests are free. Listen, if you are somebody between 60 and 66, do you benefit from these free prescriptions? Do you think, oh, I wouldn't be able to take the prescriptions, I wouldn't be able to take the medications if I didn't have that? They are really expensive. Like I said, I got one the other day, £9.90. I think they charged me £9.95, actually. I shall go back to them for that 5p. But yeah, it's a lot of money. Right, if you've got and if you've got multiple issues and you have multiple medications, that again is a lot of money. If you're exempt for other reasons, you will still remain exempt. This is just about older people, 60 to 66, losing that benefit. Give me a call. Do you think it's only right and fair that that is what should happen? If you're still working, you're still out there, of course you should pay. Of course you should pay. You should pay for your tubes and your buses as well, shouldn't you? 0344 499 1000, and you can text the word talk and your message to 87222. So that's coming up at midnight. Coming up before then, oh my goodness me, it's all going to go horribly wrong between 11 and 12 as we have Claire Muldoon here in the studio to go through Thursday's front pages. So she will be here. Andrew Lound, haven't spoken to him for ages it feels, but Andy Lound will be in, who's our space expert. Oh no, he's down the line, but he's here to talk to us about what's going on in space at the moment. And Josh Rom is coming into the studio. He's got the most incredible interviews, an Angelina Jolie exclusive for you. So that's all coming up. But first, when I first started talking about this, I think it was Tuesday, was it Monday? Tuesday, whenever it was. Monday into Tuesday morning. I was talking to you about could Donald Trump buy the UK? Did you want to be the 52nd state, because Canada's going to be the 51st, as we know, state of the United States of America? And I was kind of tongue-in-cheek. But since then, Donald Trump, President-elect, has stood up in Mar-a-Lago, his home, and he has come out with the most extraordinary statements that I think I've ever heard anybody openly say. Basically, that he wants Greenland and the Panama Canal. If you don't believe me, this is it coming out of his own... Oh, no, the multicam's crashed, whatever that means. I don't know what that means. Oh, it's back up again. Anyway, this is what Donald Trump had to say.
Can you assure the world that as you try to get control of these areas, you are not going to use military or economic coercion?
No.
And can you tell us a little bit about what your plan is? Are you going to negotiate a new treaty? Are you going to ask the Canadians to hold a vote? What is the strategy?
Yeah, I can't assure you. You're talking about Panama and Greenland. No, I can't assure you on either of those two. But I can say this. We need them for economic security. The Panama Canal was built for our military. I'm not going to commit to that now. It might be that you'll have to do something. Look, the Panama Canal is vital to our country. It's being operated by China. China.
It isn't actually being operated by China. There's a couple of ports that China run, but the entire... No, it's not. Anyway, just fact-checking the future president there. That's me not getting a visa. Anyway, look, what I wanted to find out is what the people in America think of this, because this is very much part of the America First strategy. This isn't just taking care of America as it is now. He's putting America first above every other country because he wants to expand it. So what do Americans think of this? Do they support him? Do they think he's being the strong man? Or is there concern that he's really hacking off his allies? I mean, Canada, for example, Justin Trudeau, the outgoing Prime Minister there, he tweeted there was snowball's chance in hell of Canada becoming the 51st state. Trump is talking about using tariffs to make them do what he wants to do. So, John Misek is here with us to discuss this, politics managing editor at masslive.com in Boston. John, very good evening to you. You literally couldn't make this up. When I was first talking about this before President Trump spoke, I was being a bit tongue-in-cheek, to be honest with you. But it seems that I should never underestimate the Donald.
Petrie, welcome to season 2 of the Trump show. You know, the president is an entertainer at heart. He loves the rope-a-dope. He needs new storylines to keep the MAGA base engaged and enraged. And he has settled upon retaking the Panama Canal. He has settled upon retaking Greenland, which was something he had broached in his previous administration. And he's been walking around saying that Canada should be the 51st state, referring to Justin Trudeau, now the outgoing prime minister, as governor of the 51st state of the United States. You know, I dove into a Canada subreddit this morning, and Canadians are not willing to surrender their sovereignty. They have no interest. You know, as much as they want to, as stand-up comedians and hockey are their main export, they have no interest in joining the United States. It's been, I mean, the one we missed also is the president wanting to rename the Gulf of Mexico off the coast of Florida, Gulf of America. We can throw that one into the blender as well. Just a reminder that, in all seriousness, the incoming president, as in his previous administration, governs by disruption. He governs by outrage. It is entirely likely that none of this will come to pass, but he is now putting allies and adversaries on notice that that this disruptive approach is now going to be once again U.S. policy sort of going forward.
But it's one thing to disrupt, and I understand that as a technique of politics, but to actively hack off allies and make allies respond in a way that Trump isn't going to like. For example, Europe going, there's no way you're taking Greenland, mate. It's not going to happen. And it's going to be a test for NATO. That's going to annoy Trump as well. So the disruption I understand, but actively making enemies out of allies, I don't.
Why does Donald Trump do anything Donald Trump does? Donald Trump knows best. I don't pretend to have any insight into the president's mind. But, I mean, you're quite correct. Canada is a founding member of the North Atlantic Alliance. Denmark, which has oversight of Greenland, is a part of the North Atlantic Alliance as well. Should the president choose to send in, say, the 82nd Airborne or the 1st Mountain Division, you and I both know that the North Atlantic Treaty dictates that an act of aggression against one member nation is considered an act of aggression against all member nations. It does not obligate them to commit forces, but it certainly does obligate them to respond in some way. I cannot believe that the president, the incoming president, wants to start a war in the Western Hemisphere. But this seems to be that sort of foreign policy, not vagary, but foreign policy reality seems to have been lost in this discussion. These are actions that would pit the North Atlantic Alliance against each other, sort of upending, as you know, an order that's been in place since the end of World War II.
But he seems to align himself with Putin. Right, we know that. He thinks he's a great man. And he thinks that him taking Greenland is akin to Putin invading Ukraine. And he doesn't see a major problem with that.
I mean, there are some geopolitical realities here. I mean, the U.S. does have a strategic interest in checking the interests of China, say, in the Panama Canal, or, say, in the Arctic region. And I believe Denmark's prime minister has thanked the incoming White House for raising Arctic issues once again. But all of that, that all gets lost in this this kind of noise. We know the incoming president likes to endear himself to stronger leaders. So if he feels like he's projecting strength to Putin, that probably boosts his ego in some way as well, which I would think.
Yeah. Look, what do Americans make of this? His backers, the MAGA crowd, are they impressed by this, thinking, yeah, we need to expand, this is great stuff, or are they concerned that he's just mouthing off?
I mean, I think it's probably a little bit of both. There's the sort of famous admonition that you take the president literally but not seriously. They love this. They eat it up. They see it as a projection of American strength. There are other Americans who are just kind of shaking their heads in disbelief and here we go yet again. I am reminded with your discussion at the top before this segment, before we came on air, that there are real problems for Americans who are facing medical bills and don't have the sort of health infrastructure that our friends in the UK have. They're worried about the price of milk. They're worried about housing costs. Here in the greater Boston region where I live, we have among the highest rents in all of the country. The median home price is $910,000 US. So, I mean, there are really concrete problems that sort of take precedence over this drama. And I'm sure they would prefer the incoming White House to be talking about that instead of sort of saber rattling and as you say, hacking off our allies.
Yeah, and also that there's going to all hell will break out in the Middle East if those hostages aren't released. I mean, he has a real danger actually of disrupting what seems to be some kind of talks towards that, but doesn't care. And nobody's quite sure what he means by that.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, the president has said he wants the hostages released by January 20th, his inauguration day. That's just, less than 2 weeks away as we sit here. And that part of the world being as uncertain, as unstable as it is, sort of inserting Donald Trump into that just adds sort of another degree of instability and uncertainty, doesn't it?
It does. I'd like to just turn your attention, if I can, John, just to change the topic slightly, is the LA wildfires that we've all been watching over here on this side of the pond. I mean, we're used to seeing fires in the US. We are, and it's just awful. It's just heartbreaking to see. But this is very specifically a very highly populated area. There's been a lot of famous names thrown into the mix, of course, which makes it even more newsworthy, sadly. And it's becoming a political football again. A lot of people saying, look, leave the politics out of this. Let's just get people safe and try and protect properties before we start blaming somebody.
Yeah, I mean, this is the debate over climate change kind of rearing its head, pardon me, in the case of the wildfires. But you're quite right, Petrie, the human scale, the economic scale of this is devastating. The economic loss running to, the countless millions of dollars. I have 2 young journalists on my staff who come from Southern California and are keeping in touch with their family and friends there, making sure that they are safe. So, I mean, this is something that hits in a very real way, whether you've just visited Los Angeles, whether you've ties there or whatever. It is hard not to be moved by the videos and the photos that we've been seeing over these last, say, 48 hours.
Oh, it's absolutely devastating. And the loss of life is, I understand, at 2 at the moment, and many people injured. But there's zero containment. This is not contained at all because of the high winds. That's our understanding. That's
correct. And I think if these dry conditions, just adding sort of tinder to, I don't pretend to be an expert in this, but, I've been to California in the wake of some of these fires, and, you have the scrub bushes there, and these fires come down through the canyons. They move very quickly, and the fire crews are doing everything they can, of course, to stay ahead of them. And as we see from this video here, that it's just an extraordinary task. It's just ripping through neighborhoods at incredible speed. And again, as a reminder that climate change is very real. These drier conditions here, it's not as it was even 10 years ago. The level of risk has multiplied.
It's just going to cost billions, potentially hundreds of billions, to rebuild this area.
Exactly right. I mean, some historic homes have been devoured, whole neighborhoods have been consumed. It will take a long time, to rebuild these homes, rebuild these neighborhoods. Possessions have been lost. Those can be replaced. Thank God the death toll isn't worse. But yeah, it's a tragedy, however you choose to frame it.
Yeah, the first thing, because I love art, and I just think, God, those big houses will have some beautiful, irreplaceable pieces of art, and it just breaks my heart, because, like you said, buildings can be replaced, lives can't, and things like that can't be either. John, I hope your 2 colleagues' families are okay. Send our best wishes, won't you? John Misek there, politics managing editor at massive.com in Boston. Quick break, back in a sec.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there. Good evening to you. So, the phone in at midnight. Do you know what? I'm going to say this because I did say to a lot of my friends, do you know what Labour are going to do next? I said this back in August, I think, somewhere like that. Anyway, I said, you know what they'll do next? They're going to strip free prescriptions from people aged between 60 and 66. No, they'll never do that. No, don't be silly. They'll never do that. I promise you, I called this. I called it. I saw it. I knew it. And this is not going. And I said when they took winter fuel payments away, this is just the beginning. This is not the end of this kind of behaviour. Now, if they do decide to take, the Tories thought about this, by the way. The Tories tried it, thought about it, did a bit of a survey on it and discovered that there was a massive public backlash. And not just from the public who thought that at 60 you deserve to get something back for all the tax you've paid, but from doctors, from pharmacists, those people at the sharp end of the health issues of somebody who's 60. You are more likely to have more health issues as you get older. That's just the way it is. We know that for a fact. But they decided that this is the way to go. Even if you're over 60, you've got several health issues, pay for your prescriptions. This is maybe the way they're going to go. Now, they could either, these are two ideas. One idea is to immediately say you no longer get them. Even if you're 62, 63, whatever age you are, you have to start paying again until you're 66. That's one idea. And the other idea is that anybody already getting them would keep them, but anybody who is 59 and thinking, oh, good, next year at least I get free eye test and free prescriptions, you won't get them. So those are the two ideas being mooted. Of course, Labour have said, we're not going to do that, but they also said they'd look after pensioners and not strip the winter fuel allowance. So we know we can't trust them, we know we can't believe them, but do you think that this would be the right call? I just told you that massive borrowing, having broken fiscal rules to do so, Rachel Reeves, she has run out of money. Already, it's gone. How long ago was the budget? It's gone. She's got 1 billion left, roughly. About $1 billion left from 22.5 billion. That's it. So all these plans that we've been hearing about the NHS, and we're going to have these hubs and it's going to be great and we're going to, it's going to be marvellous. That hasn't been costed. That hasn't been budgeted for. And she's got no money left. So who do you think is going to have to pay for all of that? Well, there you go. That was the right answer. You are. I am. Everybody is. She said she won't come back for tax in the way that she did in that one. It's a lie. She can't not. They've spent it already. It's gone. So if they can raise $1 billion or $2 billion over 5 years or 4 years by taking away free prescriptions for people 60 to 66, shouldn't they? I mean, if you're 60 and you're still working, presumably you could afford your prescriptions. Or shouldn't you have to? I mean, let me explain why it was originally set at 60. It was originally set at 60 because that was the original pension age for women, if you remember. And then those two things were ratified, women's pension age and men's pension ages were brought together. As we know, it was 65 at that point. So men and women retired at the same age. Perfectly understand that, perfectly agree with that. In fact, I think there should be a lower pension age for anybody who does a physical job, like a builder or bricklayer or plumber or electrician. Anybody who does that kind of physical work, they should be allowed to retire at 60, in my view, because physically you can't keep doing that stuff. So but anybody else who's working... But anyway, that was the reason. So they left it at 60 for free prescriptions. And now they're saying all they want to do is bring that in line with the pension age. Now, let's remember that currently at 66, it's going up to 67, then it's going up to 68, and it is thought by 50, that it'll be 72 years old before you can retire. And that means you won't get anything until you're 72. Now, a lot of people say, well, you'll still have to be working at that age, won't you? So if you're working, you can afford to pay. But is this just a symbol, really, of the nastiness? Do you rely on your free prescriptions? Does it make a difference to you? Not everybody. He's got this view that everybody over the age of 60 clearly owns several properties and is really, really rich. It's complete nonsense. Mind you, he's got the view that nobody wants a probe into the rape gangs. He's completely out of touch, isn't he? Give me a call on this, 0344 499 1000. Calls are charged at the network rate. And text the word talk and your message to 87222. We do phone you back, by the way. So that will cost you nothing when we phone you back. Right, so give me a call. Tell me what you think about this. And in just a moment, Josh Rom's going to be here to tell us about Angelina Jolie.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Right now, though, you're with Petrie, and I'm with you until 1 o'clock. And with me in the studio is the fabulous Josh Rom, entertainment journalist and host of the Sun's Awards Watch. And it is award season, isn't it?
Oh, it is award season. But actually, we've had some big news today from the Critics' Choice Awards. They've been delayed, so they were supposed to be this upcoming weekend.
Oh, the fires.
But yes, because of the fires, they've now been delayed till January the 26th. And on top of that, the Screen Actors Guild Awards, instead of doing a big kind of video announcement today, instead they released the nominations today simply via a list, via press release.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, these massive wildfires... Because it's California, having a massive effect on award season so far. So... listen, I doubt the Oscars are going to be delayed. They've got time for that. They're not until March the 2nd. BAFTAs aren't until February. The Independent Spirit Awards are the last weekend before the Oscars, so that's going to be end of February. So we've still got time for some of these ceremonies, but at this very moment in time,
Because it's so horrifying.
It's horrifying in Hollywood, yeah.
Yeah, really is bad.
And I remember I used to have cousins that lived in
the Palisades
in California.
Yeah.
They lived in Agora Hills. They recently, well, I say recently, it's a couple of years ago, I think kind of just before the pandemic, they moved over to Miami. Partly due to the tax situation in California because Democrats raised taxes, but also due to kind of safety concerns because there was the previous fires that impacted the valley in particular, they had to evacuate their home, I remember.
Yeah, that would really get you moving.
It's scary.
Yeah, because there's no controlling a fire. This is what we don't understand. Once they go, they've got a will of their own, and especially with the high winds and everything. And of course, a lot of celebrities have lost their homes in this as well. I've seen celebrity names saying, "My house is gone. It's all gone."
Well, you might remember Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth. That this was the previous fires that destroyed their Malibu home was kind of the start of the decline of their marriage. So, I mean, listen, it's horrible for anyone to lose their home. I'm not going to say let alone a celebrity. I'm just going to say it's horrible for anyone to lose their home.
Exactly.
But it's still, you know, just because you have money, you might lose sentimental possessions. Your pets might be in danger.
For me, it's the artworks that they would have had. That is absolutely irreplaceable. But as long as people are safe, that's the most important thing. Let's talk about this movie, Maria. Now, Angelina Jolie has already won an award for this.
Well, so she's won a number of small awards throughout award season. She recently won an award at the Palm Springs Festival that was held last weekend before the Golden Globes, literally the day before the Golden Globes. Both her and Nicole Kidman went up on stage to collect awards for their movies. But this movie is directed by Pablo Larraín. Now, you might remember him as the director of Spencer, which starred Kristen Stewart as Princess Diana. But he also previously before that, see, I loved it.
Oh my!
But then he also directed Jackie, starring Natalie Portman, about Jackie Kennedy. So that again, both of those actresses were nominated for an Academy Award for their respective roles. Now, this film, Maria, it completes Pablo Larraín's trilogy of iconic women. It's about Maria Callas in her final days in 1970s Paris before her death. Her voice is in the decline. She's trying to find the opera singer Maria Callas. She's trying to find her voice again. She's trying to just kind of liberate herself, to try and find La Callas, this inner part of herself. But this tells the story. It does kind of have a bit like Pablo Larraín's other films, set in a specific time period, but with a respective or retrospective look back at someone's entire lifetime. So you see her relationship with Aristotle Onassis, you see all of the kind of pain that she goes through when she cancels the performance and all of that stuff, going through her public persona. It's a really captivating watch. And before we go into the interview, we've got a sneak preview of the film.
I'm in the mood for adulation. I
like that.
Yeah.
And then she goes to a cafe in Paris, and let's just say it doesn't quite go to plan. So again, so you kind of get the feel for this movie. It's very Pablo Larraín. It's slow, it's methodic, but it's high drama. You saw there just how transformed she was into this character. Because of course, when you start in a biopic, it's one thing to play a fictional character. It's another thing entirely to play someone who lived, let alone someone as iconic as Maria Callas, the most famous.
Did she actually do the singing in it?
So she trained for 6 months to do opera, or 7 months to do opera, I should say. And what they've done as well, they mix her voice in with Callas. So sometimes you hear Angelina singing, sometimes you hear Maria Callas singing, sometimes Pablo Larraín has been saying in interviews how they've had this software where they've literally mixed them both. So sometimes you hear 20% Angelina, 80% Maria, then you hear 20% Maria Callas, 80% Angelina. It's really clever. And actually, there's this one scene, the Belena scene, where, and it's a scene that's been kind of doing the rounds on the internet. and you do hear slightly the two voices. But when I watched it first time, it was seamless and I could not tell. And all of us in the cinema room were like, is this Jolie? Is this Maria? What can we hear? So I think it's actually a testament to Angelina Jolie that she doesn't just play her in terms of speaking and lip-syncing. Whereas Angelina has also said you can't fake opera. You cannot. So that's why she was determined. To have the breathing.
Well, anyway, listen, you got, I don't want to run out of time, but you got to sit down with Angelina Jolie.
Yes, I did. So with our sister station Times Radio, I sat down with Angelina Jolie speaking about a wide range of issues. Now, this interview has kind of been making waves across the world. The Daily Mail's picked up this interview. Page 6 in the US has picked up this interview. Daily Express US has picked up this interview. So we thought we just had to bring it to you guys to hear it for the first time tonight. This went out earlier this week on Times Radio. But the first thing that I asked Angelina, because as I said about Maria Callas, when she goes to the cafe, it doesn't all go to plan. Angelina's very much well known for her roles as Lara Croft and Maleficent, these beautiful fictional characters. But I asked her whether her approach differed playing someone who wasn't just real, but was actually as divisive as somebody like Maria Callas.
Well, it's true. They gave her a really hard time. The public gave her a really hard time. I mean, I think... You know, I hope the film expressed that she was dealing with a lot of private things. I think, like we try to put forward in the film, she had serious health issues, and I think she wasn't able to express them as much as we could have today. To say, well, she's not feeling well and she's sick, or this is something or that she couldn't see on stage and needed those glasses. She couldn't really see, so I think there was a lot about her that wasn't understood, and so she was unfairly judged sometimes as being like not showing up for something or being a diva, when in fact the effort to do what she did was harder than I think people knew. So I felt for her.
And could you relate to that as well, somewhat?
Not in that way, but I did relate to. I do care about my work, and I do care about the audience. I don't make art for myself, and so I do want desperately to connect. I see it as a relationship with an audience, and I think it means as much to me as it meant to her, that it was probably a big part of our life to feel less alone when our work connected to a stranger in the dark, you know? So for that, I think, and I'm sure she had her feelings hurt when somebody thought something about her that wasn't true. Mm.
And Pablo, you of course are known for your incredible work on Jackie, starring Natalie Portman, and also with Kristen Stewart playing Princess Diana. Both of those actresses really inhabited the roles in which they played. What qualities about Angelina reminded you most about Maria Callas?
To say this in front of me.
I've done it before, so no, of course, but it's I think it's mystery. I think it's I think cinema is an act of mystery. I think it's essential for the role, because even though, believe me, after all these years of admiration, of following her work, and then the research of this movie, making this movie, I still don't completely understand her. And so it's a very mysterious figure, I think. And to play that, you need to carry that mystery. And then I think also I was very blessed when I started to understand her approach to the character, which brought something that I didn't entirely measure before, which is a sense of stoicism. And he was very protective of her. And I took it in. And I think the movie is more interesting because of that. It's always a process, but unlike the other movies, this is a movie about an artist that is really at risk, is exposing herself, and now it's time to get back to her own voice, and that's, I think, the heart of the film.
And actually, on that note, Angelina, because in the movie, Maria is trying to find her voice again and is trying to find La Callas, and almost like this inner part of herself that's been lost. Would you say that through this movie you found another part of yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, you're an artist and you go through different things in life and you wonder if certain parts of you have shut down or who you are or what you have inside of you, and if your light's dimmed and if you have less to contribute or if you don't know yourself. And so to push and rediscover things and try for things that I hadn't ever tried. And what a gift as an artist to be pushed again at this time in my life to do something that terrified me and I wasn't sure I could do is the greatest gift. And to be with a director you feel so comfortable with, that it's okay. If you try your best and you fail, it's all right because they're supporting you and helping you. So yeah, it was very nice.
Amazing. Very high praise indeed. Well, congratulations on this. And it's great to see that you guys both supported each other through making this, because it was at times quite a tough watch.
Yeah.
We were just saying there, watching her, she's an extraordinary looking woman, isn't she? She's absolutely beautiful.
I mean, when I was sitting in front of her, I couldn't help but think she's absolutely glowing in front of me. It was, I don't think pictures and videos actually do her justice. Like, it's one of those things where when you're sitting in front of her, it was like, I get it now.
I get it.
I get it.
I get it. Yeah.
I get it.
Josh, well done. Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much indeed. Josh Rom, entertainment journalist and host of the Sun's Awards Watch.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, and a good evening to you. Just to let you know, coming up at the top of the hour, it is Claire Muldoon. She's going to be here to go through Thursday's papers. In the meantime, though, we have Andy Lound here, who is MySpace expert. Andy, how are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. I guess you're in the mood for adulation, aren't you?
I'm always in the mood for adulation, Andy. The trouble is I never get it. So, I know. It's a tragedy. That's an absolute tragedy. Andy, tell me about what's going on in space at the moment. It seems to be very busy up there.
It's very busy at the moment. We've got the launch of what's called the New Glenn, which is a heavy lift vehicle, which is by Bezos, the Amazon person. Blue Origin, who obviously put people up in suborbital for for a price. But this is going to be their heavy lift launcher, the one which will compete, if you like, with the Falcon 9 spacecraft which SpaceX use. And that's going to get to a test run on Friday, hopefully all being well. And it'll be launching into orbit a test vehicle, which is almost like a test platform, which is the platform they'll be using for launching satellites. So they're testing that on Friday, so that's could be good. But also on Friday, SpaceX, well, surprise, surprise, are launching SpaceX 7, the heavy lift vehicle 7, and they'll be demonstrating, hopefully, how to deploy vehicles into orbit. So they'll be demonstrating this big rocket and how it can deploy vehicles into Earth orbit. So that's a spectacular opportunity which is happening as well.
How much do these tests cost? Because they've got a... It would be... Is it the same as actually when they take a payload up?
It's the rocket launch is, yes. The difference is they don't have the payload. So yes, the actual launch facility is still hundreds of millions of dollars in many cases, because you've got to build the vehicle and you've got to launch it. But you're getting parts of the vehicle back. Again, these are reusable vehicles, so you're getting sections back, which is going to be the big test for Blue Origin, because they're actually bringing the vehicle back to land on a water platform in the same way SpaceX have done on several occasions. So in that case, it's not too bad because you get to reuse the vehicle again. But launches of this type, and because they're reusable, actually fall dramatically in price to, in some cases, the tens of millions of dollars to sometimes single millions of dollar figures, which is completely different to, I mean, the space shuttle, when that went up, was a $300 million shot each time, and that was way back in the 80s and 90s, whereas these could be eventually, when they have them launching and operating, could be just a few $1 million per launch, which is incredibly cheap, considering that your satellite could be worth $30 million in its own right.
I mean, this is big business, isn't it, for Bezos? Because they need the money, both him and Musk, because, you know, taking things up into space, satellites, moving things around. I mean, and eventually, of course, building space stations out there.
Well, yes, this is it. And what NASA's quite pleased about is that you're going to have a number of launch vehicles from private companies. And, of course, there's going to be big changes once President Trump takes office, because the head of NASA will be changing. And the man who's coming in for it is very much interested in getting the private sector more involved with NASA. So it's going to be a very different attitude indeed. So you want these private companies to be up and running and doing their job to reduce the cost of going into space.
And advancing the technology in the way that only private companies can, really.
I think so. It's been proven that. I mean, to be fair, Musk has proved that by his investments into SpaceX, exactly what can be improved. Because it's going to be a crazy month, because we've got loads of moon vehicles going up. We've got Firefly's Blue Ghost going to the moon. It's going to take a while to get there because it's going to do it in the slow form, so it orbits the Earth, then makes a series of orbits until it gets to the moon, dropping an experimental package onto the surface of the moon with 10 NASA experiments, testing looking at the magnetic field of the Earth from the moon. Never been done before. That's going to be good. Looking at the radiation and the electromagnetic environment around the moon itself, looking at lunar dust and materials like that. That's going to be followed by a Japanese vehicle which is going to land on the moon later in the month, and then that's going to be followed by an Israeli mission that's going to the moon, and another Japanese mission going to the moon. It's absolutely swamping us going to the moon at the moment. So that's all the big news of things which are flying just in this short period of time. Never mind the rest of the year, because the rest of the year we've got SpaceX who are going to be demonstrating refueling in space for the very first time. And if they're able to pull that off, that makes Mars that little bit closer to us, which Mars is in the news this week big time, because NASA made the announcement, interestingly, of audio announcement only, not a video announcement, that they've got 2 candidates for collecting samples from the moon, but they're not going to choose them till mid-2026, which is a bit of a shocker, because they've got a dozen samples lying on the surface of the moon in cigar-sized canisters, which has been left there by one of the rovers. But NASA's program to get it, working with the European Space Agency, has been complete shambles. It went up by $8 billion to $11 billion project, and they said they couldn't afford that. And anyway, they weren't going to be able to collect them until 2040, at which point Musk might as well go and physically pick them up himself by the way he's going. And China are planning to get to Mars on the 2026 window, so they'll be bringing samples back, they think, about 2028 to Earth.
But do they have to land to bring them back. How do you
yes,
get
you
that?
do.
You do?
Yes,
so will we see human footsteps
It'll
on?
be robotic. It's a robotic vehicle.
Oh, it'll be robotic.
Yeah, and that's why the costs have gone up, and it's a very complicated mission the Americans have had to go. But it's almost been very uncoordinated how they're intending to do this. And they've got two projects at the moment. One is NASA's, which is using what's called a sky crane. It's like a very interesting vehicle which they've used to drop satellites onto the surface.
I think we've got a picture of that. Anybody watching at the moment can see it.
And also the alternative is they're going to use the private sector, which will be a cheaper way of fetching the items back with a new landing system. But when the vehicle lands on the surface of Mars, it's going to collect the samples with a robotic arm, pick them up and put them into their vehicle. Then the vehicle will lift off, go into Mars orbit, where it then docks with the European Space Agency spacecraft, which then brings them back to the Earth. So it's an incredibly complex mission that they're planning. Wow. And even so, with this version, they still won't bring the samples back till 2031 anyway. And considering the samples have been lying on the surface of Mars now for a few years, it just seems a little uncoordinated, because you've only got 2-year windows ever to launch to Mars. 2022 and 2024 were the launch windows, which have been missed by everybody. Nobody has launched anything towards Mars.
Why have we got those the windows? Is that because of where Mars is in the position?
Yeah, Mars takes twice as long to go around the sun as the Earth does. So therefore, every 2 years we actually see Mars in the sky. We'll be seeing it in the sky at the moment. That's another big story, which we'll talk about next time, is the planets being in the sky. But Mars we only see every 2 years, and therefore your launch window to get there at the quickest possible moment is every 2 years. And if you miss that launch window, you have to wait 2 years and so on.
Oh, wow.
So we've missed it. So 2026 is the next launch window, then 2028, 2030, and so on, until we actually can get a spacecraft to Mars on the efficient run. So since SpaceX are planning to get something to Mars in the 2028 launch window, it could be quite interesting. That's going to be unmanned, of course, but it could mean that in 2030 they'll be launching humans towards Mars. It's possible, and therefore they could pick the samples up themselves before the Americans ever send their robotic probes there, which would be really ridiculous, wouldn't it?
I mean, yeah, it really would be stupid, wouldn't it? It just seems that with so much going on, the one question I have is, we keep talking about all these things going on with the moon. Why haven't we seen people on the moon again?
Well, we're waiting at the moment. NASA are falling backwards in their program again, because we've got two issues with NASA at the moment. Of course, they've had the Boeing Starliner failure, or failure problems with the Boeing Starliner, but also their own moon mission, the Artemis mission, is going to be using a different spacecraft as well. So there's a total of 3 spacecraft involved in this, 2 private, 1 NASA-funded spacecraft. And the one that they're also hoping to use, which will work with SpaceX, unfortunately, they've got some problems with that now. So they're not probably going to send humans to the moon just to orbit it now. Maybe late 2026, but it might be pushing to 2027 before
it just seems weird, doesn't it? Because the first time we landed on the moon was in the 60s, and we've not had a human footsteps on there since. It just doesn't seem...
It's what you get with the motivations. I mean, we have better technology today, but the motivations have to be there to actually go and do it. And there was an urgency in the 60s, which we don't have at the moment.
Oh, because of Russia, yeah.
Yeah, there was no urgency to actually get there first for any particular reason, and they set goals in a particular way. We haven't had those goals set in stone particularly to do it. There were some presidents, I mean, Reagan, Bush and Obama sort of made half-hearted goals for it, but with all due respect to them, those presidents didn't really understand what was going on in space particularly, and they should have really left it more to the scientists. I think that's why people like Elon Musk have said, we've had enough of this, let's get on with it and get it done, while we're waiting for politicians to make their minds up. And I think that's why private industry has really pushed it. That private industry pushing to do it, of course, has pushed other nations to do it. Russia are in trouble at the moment with finances, although they'd like to push, but China is just pushing way, way, way ahead and getting themselves motivated to keep up with it.
Well, they need to be the first one to get those minerals on the moon, don't they? Andy, it's wonderful to talk to you. I love your space outfit again. It's fantastic. Andy Lound there, the space expert that everybody wants. Right, coming up in just a moment, we have Claire Muldoon taking us through the papers.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there. It is fabulous to have your company, and for the next hour we are in the company of the Muldoon.
For the next hour.
Yeah,
gosh, when you say it like that, it seems as if it's going to be so long, when in reality it's
just 2 minutes, isn't it? Ta-da! Done. We're done. Muldoon, how was New York?
Oh my goodness me, Petrie. Yeah, I had just arrived. We were checking into the hotel, and but we had an absolute blast. It was just that I love the New Yorkers. I love New York. I think it was my 4th and my 5th time there, but it was the first time that any of the children had been. I say children, you know, my youngest is 20, eldest is 26, and 2 others in between. But we all had an amazing time. Everyone got on really well with one another. We had mega lols. We laughed from the first moment getting on the plane, and I have to call out the cabin crew of BA. They were fantastic on the way out. Everyone was in the party spirit. Everyone was in the party mood. Helped with party spirits. But it was just great, and we had great food. We had, you know, filthy pizza. We had proper bagels. We had, you know,
Did you go to diners and have all the big breakfasts and all that?
Brooklyn Bridge, you know, and it was that New York weather, you know, where there's no rain but it's cold, and you know the temperature says it's -2, but it feels like -9. Well, look, I'm from Glasgow.
Yeah, they picked the wrong
like
bird.
-9.
Because it's dry.
It's a really dry, and you know, it's that dry way that your lips get chapped.
Yeah.
You
Did
know?
you go on the ice rink? I've skated on there.
I've got no centre of gravity, and I've got no. It's Central Park. The horses were mangy, you know, and there were all these tuk-tuks. He could have been anywhere.
Oh,
it was really quite sad.
Well, I just like the ice rink in Central Park.
Can you ice skate?
Very badly, but yes, I can. I can stay up.
Well, I really can't.
Just about.
I really can't.
But I was younger when I did that. But anyway, I'm glad you had a great time. I know. It's a great city to walk around.
Fab. Yeah, it is. It's in the grid system, as you know, just like Glasgow.
I've always thought that.
Yeah.
So
it springs to everyone's mind.
Similar. Well, listen, I'm glad you had a wonderful time. And you had your birthday out there as well.
I did have my birthday out there, which was incredible. We took, you know how some supermarkets before Christmas did 25% off. You bought 6 bottles champagne in the suitcases, 1 each. And then so the girls had it all chilled. They brought balloons. They did their room because they had their room and I had my room. And they did everything up, and they went to the Magnolia Bakery to get special breakfast in. So we had champagne, we booked brunch, we went for the brunch. I'm even talking like a New Yorker now. It's bada bing, bada bang.
That's terrible. I do apologise to our New York listeners.
I almost brought my MAGA hat.
Oh, good.
Well, anyway, I've got a joke for you.
Uh-oh.
No, this is a really good joke.
OK, go on then.
Just see if you get it.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I heard that the Prime Minister of Canada, the President of Canada, has resigned. Is it Trudeau? I expected a bigger laugh.
Well, it's just, that's a dad joke.
Oh, it's so not
Is
a
it
dad.
Trudeau? It's a dad joke.
It's not a dad joke.
Dad joke. It's
Don't
rubbish.
you minimise that joke. That joke is an incredibly
I mean, has
funny
anybody lolled with that joke?
I actually did when I first
Well,
read
you
it.
probably did, but were you drunk at the time?
No!
As if the suggestion is outrageous.
I know, right? I had lipstick on my top top lip today, and someone went, "What's happened to you now?" And I went, "What?" It's just that we thought you'd fallen or something.
See, everybody knows.
Everybody,
yeah. They all have an image of you, and it's the right one. Look, I want to ask you about this question that I'm going to be talking about. New fears that Labour wants to scrap free prescriptions for over 60s. Now, at the moment, when you hit 60, you get free prescriptions, free eye tests from the NHS, and of course subsidised travel in cities like London and Liverpool, I understand, a couple of other cities as well. A lot of 60-year-olds are still working. They have to. They can't retire yet.
Yeah.
Should they be paying?
Well, I don't think many people actually pay for prescriptions.
No, they don't.
Anyway,
Only 4%.
I think only 4%. So, I mean, it's a loaded question. And it's going to be quite a political one because, as you know, prescriptions are free in Scotland.
But it'll be worth about 225 million a year.
But the reality is, when you hit 60, you're going to start to get things like type 2 diabetes where you don't pay for them anyway, or, you know, God forbid, the worse conditions where you don't pay for prescriptions. You do get free eye tests. And a free eye test now is the same as walking into one of the big ones on the high street. You don't need to name them. There's quite a few. Everyone knows them. And they offset the cost of the eye test against a pair of glasses. So you know...
Not with me, they don't.
Well, they should.
They don't. I go, just give me the prescription, please. I'll go and get my own glasses.
OK, well, even better still. But the prescription's free to get.
Yeah.
And then you can just get your glasses on the internet.
That's what I do.
For a fraction of the cost.
But the thing is, so you do think that those pensioners who can... Not pensioners.
Well, they're not pensioners.
Those 60-year-olds who can pay should pay?
Yes. Because the reality is there won't be many who will pay.
Well, I mean, like I said, they're hoping to gain over to the end of this government, this Parliament, nearly £2 billion.
What?
Yeah, out of people over 60 paying for their pensions.
I think Rachel from Accounts needs further training. I really don't know where she gets her numbers from.
Well, do you know that Rachel from Accounts has run out of money? Did I tell you? I've just been talking about this, that she started off having broken her own fiscal rules with 22.9 billion. After all the promises that she'd made on pay rise and things like that, that went down to 9.9 billion. And then with all the interest rates and the kerfuffle in the markets now, 1 billion left.
Well, we have been charged higher rates of interest than a lot of other countries.
1 billion left. So they've run out of money already, basically. They're going to need to take
Trains
it from someone.
Still striking.
Yeah, I know. But, so you think, yes, if you can pay, you should pay. It's £10 a prescription. And if you're 60, you might have more illnesses and ailments.
Yeah, but you'll probably have illnesses and ailments that come under a medical exemption certificate.
But a lot of them don't.
More likely, when you're 60, they will.
Type 2 diabetes
is free.
Does, but the statins aren't.
You can get... Do statins work?
Apparently.
Do they?
So there are lots of drugs that people might take a bit older that they will now have to pay for, and this opens the door, literally, to people like Sadiq Khan saying, "Well, we're going to do the same with subsidised travel."
They've spoken about that for a long time, and I think it's really sad. But then you've got people who are living longer. What are they going to do? The Freedom Pass used to be something that people, if they didn't want to be 60 and above, they wouldn't tell anyone they had a Freedom Pass. Now it's almost like a badge of honour. And in Scotland, you've only got free bus services, you don't have free trains.
Yeah.
And that's per region.
And of course, Scotland and Wales, we know, have free prescriptions anyway, no matter
because
what.
of the devolved parliament.
And it is interesting that in the UK, like you said, that 95.08% of all prescriptions cover some exemption or other. And that may be skewed because once you hit pension age, that's probably where the most prescriptions would go.
Yeah.
Would you agree? So that's probably skewed for that.
Yeah.
But you've got unemployed, you've got up to the age of 18 or 21 for young people, and you've got the unemployed.
Students don't get free prescriptions.
No.
So if there's anyone that does need the money, it's them.
But the money won't go to them. It'll go to this unfunded new promise for the NHS.
I know, but my point is, why shouldn't the 60-year-olds pay for their prescriptions when the students have to pay for theirs?
See, a lot of people would say exactly the same. 60 is the new 50, apparently. Lots of people are working still. If you can afford it, you should pay.
Yeah.
OK. Got lots of messages here. I don't agree with you, but that's the whole point of debate, isn't it, my love?
It's the whole point of debate, love.
Innit?
Get out of my pub. Especially if you're over 60 and ill. Yeah, have another shot.
But they really don't like old people, do they?
They don't like any people.
No. But particularly old, they're going, yeah, I reckon this is because they can turn around to the 16-year-olds when they give them the vote and say, see, we've all those rich old people.
I know.
And look what, you know, what we're going to do. It's going to be amazing. It's not going to work, is it? What do you, just quickly, what do you make of the vote in the Commons?
364 to 111. All Labour, mostly, that voted.
Well, they must have been whipped.
I mean, they must have been whipped. And what a horrible thing. What a horrible thing to put out a political whip on that debate. I think it's horrific. I really, really, really do. And the MPs of Rochdale, of Oldham, of all of those counties that have been investigated, all voted against it. It is undeniably shocking. And I'll tell you, Petrie, something else that makes me so cross about all of this. How dare the politicians of this country make these girls' horrific, evil things that have happened to them into a political football. That's what makes me even crosser.
Yeah, because the Tories knew that they'd lose this.
Of course they did. It was under Theresa May. Yeah. She knew. Yeah. The J committee, the J report came out, and it was supposed to have been enacted on, but it wasn't.
And the Tories pushed this vote to show up Labour.
It's
today.
A political...
It was a political football. They knew that that Labour would be whipped into voting with Starmer. They knew that even if they weren't whipped, they would have to vote with Starmer, and they knew that they would lose this vote, and they want it as a stick to beat them with. So, like you said, this is being used politically just to go, well, we wanted this and they didn't. Look, this inquiry, this public inquiry, will happen at some stage. It'll be in every manifesto in the next election in this country.
I think it has to be. I think it has to happen because protection of an innocent has to supersede any political gain, any political want, any political power.
It's a bit suspicious, isn't it, that they are so hell-bent against this, because there actually has not been a full inquiry into the grooming gangs. The J report looks at sexual abuse of children on the whole. It really doesn't refer to gang grooming and rape.
But I think that was the way in. I think that was the way in because it was so broad in its remit that the
recommendations are wishy-washy.
Yes, but they could at least have taken them and then extrapolated the recommendations and brought it down to the local level that was happening in Rochdale, in Rotherham, in Oldham, and in Bradford,
and in Oxford,
and in Oxford,
and in Bristol, and 50 other cities that we don't really know about. But the report wasn't specifically on these rape gangs, and that's why I support having a full public inquiry, because then you get to drag these people into a room and you get to question them on camera where the public can see what people are answering. I don't trust any of them.
I don't trust any of them either. And also I think the reason that Reform are gaining so much momentum is because that Labour and Conservatives didn't and are not listening to the populist vote.
Well, they've driven. They are. Keir Starmer's saying, "Oh, we want to stop this right." They're driving people to the right. He's doing it.
Well, it started. Do you remember? I think it was last. I think it was before I went to Australia last year. I was saying to you, this term right wing, I've got huge issues with it.
Me too.
Because in order to be right wing, you need a left wing equivalent for there to be such disparity. And yet there was nothing. There was no left-wing echo chamber. There was no left-wing hierarchy. There was no left-wing, there is now. There is now. And what the centrists and what the populists actually were saying is, look, listen to us. We're living this. We're not being heard. This is not fair. What are you going to do about it? And by asking questions about like that, with regards to teaching children about sex education in schools or about the gang rapes of children, of girls, young girls. And then you think, why is this going to... We're supposed to be an educated, developed country. We're not acting like that. And as I've said before as well, not enabling people of right persuasion of politics or left, but by not giving them a voice, by driving them under, like the Prevent report has shown, you actually make it worse because you don't know what you're dealing with.
No. And also to suggest the facts make you right-wing, it's like saying the facts about gender make you transphobic. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
Because the facts are that these men were Muslim, British, of Pakistani origin.
Yes.
Overwhelmingly.
That's what they were.
That doesn't make you racist to say
white, young girls.
Yeah, working class girls.
But I'll tell you something, if the shoe was on the other foot and it was...
it's been said before.
White middle-class men or white working-class men grooming, raping an ethnic minority in this country, goodness me, would never hear the last of it.
Well, talking of the term grooming gangs, Labour now views grooming gangs, in inverted commas, as a racist phrase.
This is just ridiculous. They're now policing what we can say, and they're policing the facts. They're not grooming gangs, they're rape gangs. They've raped these girls.
Yeah, but it says that using this term in relation to a Muslim was racist. How is it racist to point out that these men were...
See, that's the difficulty. How on earth can you have discourse in...
You can't.
You can't.
Yeah. Asian
They're
grooming
disabling.
gangs is apparently now a racist phrase to call it an Asian, but they were Asian grooming gangs. That is just a fact.
A fact.
But it is also belittling the Muslim community, because to suggest that the Muslim community can't take this is to suggest they're all bad, because actually the point is that the Muslim community will be looking at these rapists and not agreeing with them. You know what I mean?
I made the point today. I made the point earlier that not all Catholic priests are paedophiles.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In the same way, not all Muslim men groom white girls and rape them.
No. So the Muslim community is against this. So, but what Keir Starmer is doing is basically saying all Muslims will be offended by this. And actually, the only ones that will be offended are the Asian grooming gangs.
Well, they won't be offended, Petrie. They'll be
busy
themselves.
Yeah, they'll be busy doing what the rape gangs do. Take back ISIS Britons, says Trump's terror chief. Now, this is to do, of course, with people like Shamima Begum in the camps in Syria. And Trump's new terror chief has said, you've got to pick them up and take them back to the UK.
He can go and do one. He wants to... he wants to... The Gulf of America now, instead of Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
Greenland is better watched because they've got
blue land.
Trump Jr. going over for TikTok and social media purposes, and all the Greenlanders want is independence from Denmark, which they don't hold much territory over fiscally anyway, but of course it's the North Atlantic gain for Trump. And I think, I mean, you know my feelings on Trump. You know I think it's a good move that he is now the president-elect. On the 20th of January, he'll move back into the White House, and I think he'll get things done. Will I calm down?
No, will he calm down about taking Greenland?
Well, of course, this is all rhetoric. He doesn't mean it. He shoots from the hip. But also, he was talking about the Panama Canal in China. China. We paid for it. We built it. We paid for it. It's ours. We're taking it back.
No, it was sold for $1, so $1, so you can't have it back.
Well, they bought Alaska from the Russians.
Yes, for the equivalent of $210 million.
Well, he didn't buy it. Americans did.
Yeah, back in the 1800s or 1900s. Right, we've got to take a break.
Oh,
I know, already. Back in a sec.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, it is good to have your company, and Claire Muldoon is with me in the studio, and we're going through Thursday's newspapers. But before I do that, Gary is messaged.
Oh, Gary.
Yeah. So
my kids even like you now, Gary.
Was just listening to Muldoon saying that she's never ice skated. I know that that's a lie.
Where have you seen me now, Gary?
I saw her a few years ago in Glasgow, George Square, ice skating with a bottle of Lambrini in one hand, like a penguin with piles. Anyway, very happy belated birthday.
Oh, thank you, Gary.
Penguin with piles. Nice visual. And this one from Ian in South Wales. Oh my God, I've got a serious crush on Claire Muldoon.
Oh.
Do me a favour, Petrie, put in a good word for me.
Well, put in the good word, Petrie.
I don't know him. I suspect he's Welsh, though, and if he's got a Welsh accent, that's something. That's not nothing.
That's Gavin and Stacey-esque.
Yeah.
What's a Gavin?
Oh, that was terrible. Sorry, Ian. Have you gone off for now?
No.
Your accents are appalling. They're like my son. He thinks he's really good at them. And I'm going,
your son who loves me more than he loves you.
He doesn't. I told you that I said to him, I said, oh, that's what we'll do. And I said, no, I was going to call you and make you call the programme. And he said, if you'd called, I'd have told both of you to grow up, behave yourselves.
I know you did tell me that. But after he told me he loved me more.
All your kids love me more. Anyway, The Mirror. Let's have a look at that for Thursday. Colleen, Wayne and I are stronger than ever. You can't help thinking that a statement like that is protesting too much, isn't it? It's like saying, yeah, we're great. Nobody asked you. Sorry, why are you telling us that?
I do love Colleen, though. He looks like a... what do they call it? No. No,
it does look like Shrek.
Yeah. Apart from that, ugly Shrek or handsome Shrek?
Ugly Shrek, obviously.
What Shrek?
Shrek.
Okay. Not the Gordon Brown-esque Shrek.
Not that one.
Supply geography teacher. That's what he looks like now.
Well, look, whatever's going on in their relationship, keep it to yourselves, we don't care. Anyway, this awful story here as well, teen knife victim. This is a young boy, 14 years old, killed on a bus in London. And the mum has come out and said, look, he used to be a really good boy, really quiet boy, and then he was groomed by gangs, and this is what's happened to him.
It's gangs, it's drugs.
Another story, isn't it? It's the same old stuff. 14 years old, killed on a bus in south-east London amid fears he was deliberately targeted.
I do think it all stems down to drugs. I really, really do.
Yeah, these are county lines.
I really do. Yeah. And actually, I was talking to a lot of New Yorkers when I was there, and the girls were saying to them... No, the girls were saying, is it safe? Because one of mine wants to move over.
Oh, it used not to be, yeah.
And they were like, look... And it is safe. You just know where to go and where not to go. And I said, that's risk, kids. That's what you've been completely sanitised by, because you're told you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't. You need to experience risk. Obviously not put yourself at risk, but you need to experience, oh, this doesn't feel right, move on.
To understand it, yeah.
And then one of them brought up the woman who was set on fire on the subway.
New York Tube, yeah.
You know, the man who did it, he's got no recollection of what he did.
And he was seen fanning the flames as well. I mean, it's absolutely awful, terrifying. And she was asleep.
And he was drugged up on something, and he was just... It wasn't in mitigation.
No.
Because clearly it was filmed.
It was filmed,
But he was like, look, I'm really sorry, but I have got no recollection whatsoever of that happening.
Did you see, though, the cops walking past her on fire?
No.
Yeah, on the New York subway platforms. Have a look.
Wow.
When you leave the studio, have a look at that. It's horrifying. There's a video of them looking and carrying on walking. Lisa has messaged saying, I love Claire. It's great when you two are on. You really should have your own show. We'd be fired.
I think we'd be dumped with the dump button too many times and be mute. There wouldn't be much output, I don't think.
It'd be a beep, beep, beep. Yeah, it wouldn't.
Well, it's not. We're doing
like
it
a
now.
lorry backing in.
We're doing
What?
Stop!
Let's have a quick look at the Telegraph before we have to break again. Stinking foxes make our lives hell. So they are stinky.
Stinkier than beavers?
I don't have many beavers in my garden.
Update on the squirrels.
Well, they've shredded everything now, so there's nothing else for them to shred. And I haven't bothered trying to fix it, 'cause there's no point.
Wait, are they still bringing you the light bulbs, though?
Yeah, there are light bulbs all over the garden. And also, I told you, didn't I? They've nibbled away at the awning as well, so that's now gone. I mean, it's just devastated my garden. I'm waiting. I've got some lights hanging on the tree, and big lights, solar lights. I'm waiting for those to be dropped to the floor any minute now. They're vandals. Vandals. But the foxes are bad as well. There was a fox sitting on the roof of my shed.
It was whatting on your roof?
Actually, beep, beep. They've done that as well.
I know, because that does stink. That's the thing. That's what.
And then my dog finds it in the garden, rolls in it, and then we fall out. It's like a Wild West in my garden. No
Beekeepers Anonymous.
I don't have a bee.
West London Beekeepers Anonymous. This is what happens.
It's my tool shed. She's convinced it is a beehive. I don't know. I mean, look, I just think that creatures
There is
should go.
wildlife in London.
It is.
You're living proof of it.
So anyway, stinking foxes, they are a nightmare. People go, oh, they're so sweet. No,
That's
they
the
don't.
noise they make as well.
I know, disgusting, vile. And they break into the rubbish.
They're vermin.
Yeah, get rid of them. The Daily Telegraph, though, again stating that the new Islamophobia law would ban the discussion of Asian
I don't understand why
gangs.
the Labour government are so tolerant of...
But how can you ban the discussion of Asian grooming gangs?
They're so tolerant of minorities and not people who live here.
Well, they know...
Well, they live here as well, but you know what I mean.
They get a lot of Labour votes, though, from that particular community, apparently. Yeah, so this is just ridiculous to me. There are certain things you won't be able to discuss, especially when it is a fact, not made up.
It's all started with the thought police, didn't it? You can't think that, and therefore we'll ban you.
It's ridiculous. Treasury steps into halt market mayhem, and as I was talking about, that Rachel from Accounts has already run out of money, and. Yeah,
she's
getting ready to cut
now.
Public spending.
She's looking older now. And interestingly, on the graph of some fiscal graph from the FT earlier on, there was a peak where Liz Truss and the markets and the gilts hit, and she resigned at that point. Rachel Reeves is there.
Very close.
She's gone up.
Yeah. Well, look, they're not going anywhere at this stage, are they? But we're going to take a quick break. So, Petrie and Claire Muldoon will be back in just a moment.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, it's good to have you with us, and by us I mean Petrie and Muldoon. Claire Muldoon. We've got some more messages here. Hey Petrie and Claire, beaver time. Rude.
Who's that from?
That's rude. From Gemma.
Gemma, I think Gemma always catches us in the beaver chat.
Beaver time. Is she the one that sends you pictures of angry beavers?
Might be, I'll check.
Yeah. Always getting an angry beaver. And this one said, is there a bidding thing going on for Claire? If so, I'm in. She knows full well I've made the effort to tidy the front room in anticipation for you two coming round.
That's Ian. That's Ian from Talbot, I think, or Ian Talbot.
Hemel Hempstead. I didn't know. You invited... You didn't tell me.
No, this is Ian Talbot, yeah.
You didn't tell me.
He's actually said, Hoover's out, dusting like a mad thing. If you two are coming into my front room, it better be presentable. And I went... When have you said
we're going round to his house? Oh, fair enough. And then on TV, we can't see, sorry. Good show, Petrie. Love it when Claire Muldoon is on with you, and that's from Andrew in Salisbury.
Oh, lovely. Thank you, Angie. We love it too.
Sorry. Let's go to the...
Look, let's have some New Year's resolutions, right?
Uh-oh.
You're not allowed to... Your son loves me more than he loves you. Yeah. And I won't mention that again for the rest of the year. Just play nice. I know it's your show, right? But be nice to your guests, OK?
No, I am nice to my guests.
Well, what am I then?
You don't count. The Daily Star. Have you eaten your Christmas tree yet?
Oh, don't be silly. Is this a Heston Blumenthal thing?
No. Belgians apparently use the pine needles to flavour sauces and things like that from their Christmas trees, but they've been told not to. So don't eat your Christmas trees.
No, my son pushed it off the balcony before we left for a holiday.
What a thug.
Well, no, we don't have... believe you me, we'd have done exactly the same. I couldn't have littered the common area with loads of pine needles. It was a huge tree.
You killed a tree just to throw it off a balcony. What, are you Russian?
In my dreams.
Oh, no, it wasn't pushed, it fell.
Honestly.
I know. There you go.
Why is the Star running a thing saying inside everything you definitely need to know about Brian Blessed?
They've been doing a lot on Brian Blessed recently. Yeah. I don't know why. He was on the front page was it yesterday?
Was he?
Talking about how to run away from a Yeti. I know. Anyway, the Star.
I love the Star.
I love the Star, bless him. The Sun newspaper, Cheryl stalked by killer. Do you know what's really interesting about the Sun at the moment? It is completely avoiding politics on its front pages. Yeah. Have you noticed that for the last few weeks?
I have.
They're really not going anywhere near political stories on their front pages. I find it really interesting because they used to. But anyway. Cheryl, this is Cheryl Tweedy, Cheryl Cole, known by some, has been stalked by a convicted killer who turned up at the home she shares with her 7-year-old son.
Isn't that so sad? She's been through enough.
I know. And he was jailed for killing a man in 2012. What is he wandering about then? But anyway, he's admitted breaching a restraining order.
Yeah, he's a convicted killer.
Yeah. He should be behind bars. He should still be behind bars. That's only 2012. I mean, for goodness sake. And Labour in chaos on rape gangs. Just a very small bit.
At least they're calling them rape gangs and not grooming gangs.
Yeah. Again, this is going to come back for him. It definitely is. The Daily Mail there showing just how awful the fire is there in Los Angeles. Apocalypse Los Angeles, gripping dispatch as stars flee there for their lives from blazing homes.
I wonder how this started. And yet they
fire, don't know yet.
The fire, I mean, it was reported this morning that the fire department were running out of water. They couldn't stop the fire, put the buffer in.
Not contained at all.
The 85-mile-an-hour winds blowing the fire even more. But of course they've got smoke on that. The schools in Santa Monica were closed. Animal sanctuaries were set up. And thankfully, as yet, there hasn't been any reports of any...
2 fatalities.
Really?
There's been 2 fatalities.
Gosh.
And many injuries. But it's just the thought of having to go through that. It's just so awful, just standing and watching everything you own, you know, razed to the ground. It's just heartbreaking. And fire. It's
not the first time it's happened in
does
Malibu.
it? It just takes its own path. And you've got some
it's like
houses.
tsunamis.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got some houses that you can see are burning amongst houses that aren't, because an ember has blown into that house. It's just very, it's just so heartbreaking. Yeah, it really is indiscriminate. And those people losing absolutely everything. I mean, they're, like you said, I mean, it's a miracle really there's only been 2 deaths so far. But the idea that all those people are now homeless and it's going to take so long to rebuild this entire area. 5,000 acres.
It was 3,000 this morning at about 5 a.m. So it must have risen to
over 1,000
Calabasas
structures have been destroyed.
To Santa Monica, the Pasadena.
Wow. The other story, of course, market turmoil sounds red alert for the Chancellor as cost of government borrowing climbs higher than in trust crisis.
That's what
It's not quite fiscally quite the same, because the pound is stable.
Yeah.
Had the pound plummeted, then we'd be in exactly the same position.
Well, it might still.
But it might still, which would show that people are taking money out of the financial system.
Yeah.
Right. The Guardian.
There's no trust.
Yeah. The Guardian, mass evacuations, other photographs, just devastating images.
This is an interesting one, but Meta's new rules set up clash with the UK and EU, and I don't think it's any surprise the fact that Nick Clegg has just left Meta, and Zuckerberg and his replacement.
We're calling him Zuckerberg now because he's sucking up to Trump.
But the new Nick Clegg replacement is a Republican. And the Zuckerberg now
I'm
is
shocked.
I'm
shocked.
As a shock.
And
it's
Zuckerberg wants to be in with...
Of course he does.
Yeah,
he's a political player.
Yeah. So there you go. All right. That's the Guardian for tomorrow, for Thursday. Reeves faces extra tax rises or cutting public services as UK's borrowing costs turn toxic. So we'll have to wait and see what she says about that. And thousands of teachers could swap pensions for bigger pay rises in April. That's the eye for Thursday. So yeah, that's being mooted now. So they get pay rises now. They get jammed today in return for lower pensions. Let's have a look at the Express. It's blindingly obvious we need a care plan. Keir Starmer's 3-year delay in reforming social care is inappropriately long and will fail millions. This is really the poison chalice, isn't it, care? Nobody wants to deal with this because of the extreme costs that it will involve.
I'm shaking my head. I mean, I don't have an answer. Well, I do, but people just don't want to take responsibility for their families, and people don't want to have this sense of society, and people don't want to help one another. There's no sense of neighbourhood community. What all happened to the WhatsApp community groups during lockdown? And, you know, care in the community and everything else. It's just awful. It really is. Well, and 50% of the population are actually living as single entities.
Which one of your poor children?
No, that's why I've got 4, you see, Petrie.
I know, but which one is going to be lumbered with you?
I've got 4, so 1 every week. End.
Well, you're going to move. You're going to move around then.
Yeah, because they'll have kids that'll need looking after.
Do they know this?
Yeah, free childcare. They're up for it. Well, actually, my son and one of my daughters tonight, who are still at home, said only momentarily, said, "Yeah, Betty, when you're a gran, you'll be far easier with the kids than you were with us." Too right.
No, you won't.
Oh, I will.
You reckon?
I won't smack my grandkids.
Are you going to get them toy beavers?
I don't know. Don't know. I certainly wouldn't slap them. I've slapped my own.
No,
I might
but
nip them.
honestly, your children are prepared to look after you. You as an old lady, you are going to be lovely.
Yes, yes. New Year's resolution.
Yeah, no, I can't do it. You'll be a cantankerous old bag.
No, I will not.
You are now.
So not. I'm one of the most placid, meagre people out there.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you met anyone else ever? Not a chance. Not a chance. You will be a nightmare. You'll have a walking stick and you'll hit people with it. You know you will. She'll be the one on the bus going, move your leg. Or move your leg.
Shake your leg.
Shake your leg.
Talking about legs.
What?
How many of these have we still got to do now? Oh.
No, come on, but you can crack on with that.
Right. There was a report today in one of the newspapers that a lot of really strange things that have been left on trains.
All right.
Right? There's been a suitcase full of ginger biscuits.
They were mine. They were mine. I do like a ginger nut.
Was the hamster yours?
What?
Was the hamster yours?
Yes.
Was the ironing board yours?
No.
The prosthetic leg? This is like a game of Cluedo. It was Petrie in carriage number 3.
The ginger nuts were mine. Yeah.
Ginger nuts.
Like a ginger
A suitcase of ginger nuts?
Yeah. No, but why was there a prosthetic leg? How was there a prosthetic leg?
I don't know. Well, you mean I've been pretty legless sometimes.
It's not something you forget.
Train.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
I mean, maybe it was Jake the Pake with an extra leg.
Yeah, well, let's hope it wasn't. No, I won't say it.
No, don't say it. Don't go there. Don't go there. But there was a hamster, wasn't there?
There was.
A live hamster, not a dead one.
Yeah.
Poor little chap.
You just wonder what brings people, what makes people take these things on trains for a start. What's the need of an ironing board?
Well,
it's not the kind of thing you forget.
If you don't have a car in London, I mean, it's not the sort of thing you forget.
Yeah, because you obviously have gone to buy it. Where's my ironing board?
Absolutely ridiculous. I don't know.
What orifice would you store that in?
I do know.
Don't purse your lips.
I'll tell you in a minute. Got to take a break. Back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, it's Petrie here with you, and Claire Muldoon is with me. Pursing her lips. You found some other stories.
I have
in the papers.
I have. So today's papers are awash with Elon Musk, Jess Phillips, rape gangs, Keir Starmer.
We don't want any more.
We don't want any more doom and gloom.
We don't want Muldoon to bring doom and gloom.
We don't, because that's not what I do. Anyway, this one made me chuckle. It was Mail Online, I think, today, and there was a university in Nottingham, either Uni of or Nottingham Trent. There has been found that Gen Zs have got raised anxiety over making and receiving telephone calls. So they will now have to be trained, I'm being absolutely serious in this, how to use the phone. I mean, they're never off the damn things, are they? Really?
Yeah, but they don't speak.
But did you remember?
Apparently it's traumatising to call somebody who's Gen Z. They get upset by it. They think it's bullying. If any of their bosses call them or whatever, they say it's bullying.
It's ridiculous.
I know.
It's really ridiculous. Do you remember in the old days with the dial-ups, you used to answer the phone, yep, what was it, Glasgow 01360 310 825, whatever it was, that you used to answer the phone with your call code and then your number.
I still remember my number as a kid, 711 019.
Yeah. And it was, you know, hello, this is it. Now you wouldn't answer a number that you didn't know if it was caller ID withheld or a number you didn't know. You just don't answer it. But at least we know how to answer. We know how to communicate.
It is interesting though, because sometimes I get into a text conversation with a friend, and then eventually one of us will just phone and go, why didn't we do that 20 minutes ago? Why we can actually have a phone call. It's just very strange, isn't it?
It is so strange.
You do get into the habit of that lack of actual communication.
Do you remember a few years ago there was a report out on the size of thumbs increasing? Because people were using that with the crackberries. That's the word, we all called them crackberries because you were addicted to them. And then it's the other test was go to ring a house bell doorbell, you know, and everyone was go like that with their thumbs. I personally, I quite like an
I cannot believe that young people today are so afraid of eye-to-eye contact with people. You notice that as well. They don't look at you. And it used to be, and I bet you had this with your kids, that when my son's friends would come round, they would all go, oh, hello, nice to meet you, and they were polite, and they were obviously horrendous to their own parents, but really polite to me. They'd have a chat, and you know, they'd obviously be thinking, I'd literally rather lick the floor than have this conversation with you, but they would do it politely, and they would go, and they were able to have those conversations. This whole generation now, they can't get a job because they can't look somebody in the eye at an interview and actually communicate with them without being anxious or without being upset or without feeling bullied or whatever else it is that they're going through. What is going to happen in the future?
Well,
we're doomed.
And it's not going to get any better. And I'll tell you why. Masks in lockdown and in the foreseeable future, if God forbid we're told to wear them again, apart from the fact they're not effective anyway of transferring or not receiving any of the diseases, but the viruses. But kids, young toddlers are sponges at that age. They pick up everything from seeing, from hearing, from tasting, from facial expression. You can feel the face. It's all through that they learn and they actually communicate. You can't communicate when that's all you've had.
No.
Really can't.
No, it's really worrying that people are just losing those basic skills.
At least this tertiary education in the college is doing something about it. But
teaching you to
it's ridiculous. It really is.
What else have you got?
In the Mirror, a nice wee cheeky story. I do wed thee at a bakery. A lovely young couple met over their love of pasties, whatever you call them.
Are they Cornish?
So you educate us here then. Romance blossomed for Jackie and Phil Firestone when she took him to Durston Village Bakery for date 2. It was there that Phil, 44, later popped the question, and so when they were discussing wedding venues, the Northamptonshire shop was always going to be a winner. They exchanged vows in front of 50 friends and family, digging into a buffet of
pasties.
Yeah, pork pies and sausage rolls.
They're not real pasties.
After we wanted to have a reception, it was such a nice little place, we thought we'd go one further and get the celebrant down so we could have the whole thing there. Isn't that lovely?
No.
Why not?
I don't think so.
You're just so unromantic.
Yep.
I'm very romantic.
Oh.
Adele making 21 grand a day.
Oh, yeah.
What's that all about? Hello. Every song
she's
sounds
very
the same.
talented.
It's the same song rolled
I know,
out.
but she's made a whole career out of it. Don't knock it.
Why?
Because
it's not going to affect
she's
her.
Managed to make
21 grand a day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nearly minimum wage in a day.
Well, good on her. I don't have any sort of envy or anything. Yeah, don't see, that is terrible as well.
She sings beautiful, but then she talks like that, innit?
I love it.
Innit, bruv?
Yeah.
Tottenham Isle.
I love it a bit though, don't you?
No, it's like Lulu. When Lulu sings, she's got quite a powerful voice, and depending on which side of Adrian's wall she's on, it'll either be, all right, hen, how's it going, lassie? Or, you know, she'll be very, like, kind of like Morningside Edinburgh. Oh.
Your Scottish accent is quite good. It's your other accents that are rubbish. The Scots one's all right. We need to work on it a bit.
Let's hear some of yours then.
But I'm English.
Doesn't matter. Even worse.
I'm not the one sitting there being
what culture appropriating myself?
Yeah, an impressionist.
That's what the Labour government would say I'm doing.
Yeah, they would.
They would. I'm not allowed to do it. Yeah,
racist.
I'd be Stalin marched out of this studio.
Mm-hmm, you would, and be cancelled. Have you found anything else?
50 hours in A&E. Did you see this today?
I did.
Isn't it awful?
50 hours.
I've got a theory on this, right? When people ring up to get a GP appointment because they think they're really ill, they're not really ill, they can't get them, and then because they don't want any responsibility for mitigating factors of anything that might happen, right? Dial 111 if you start to feel. And then, of course, you're through there. Oh, it must be bad. They were told to phone us. It must be. Well, we don't want to take any responsibility.
Go to A&E.
If you feel, present to A&E.
That's what they do.
Accident, emergency. But why are these thick people not asking themselves the question, have I had an accident? Is this emergency? It's not an emergency because I'm still alive. I've still got a pulse. I'm still breathing. I can still talk. I might feel a bit rough. I've not been drinking. It's not a hangover. I'm feeling rough because I've got the flu. Don't go to A&E.
And I was saying
flood
this,
the NHS.
I was saying this that when that story broke, saying that if you're there for 50 hours, that's not an emergency.
And you're still alive. It's not an emergency because they know.
Yeah. But there was somebody who messaged me actually who said, look, you know, some flus are really bad and you feel like you can't breathe and there's a panic there. People are panicking. So what they need to have is in every A&E is a GP.
No, do you know what they need to have? Community doctors doing house visits. That's what they need to have.
And just stop those people going to A&E.
Stop those people going to A&E because that's what people need. They need reassurance.
That's what they need. It's just that.
They need that.
You're fine. It'll get better.
Yes.
Get on with it.
Exactly. I'd do the get on with it first.
On Friday, I was my day off, and I was just doing all the housework.
Every day's a day off for you.
Yeah, it is.
You get your guests come in to do a whole hour of your show. We're the ones that have to work.
Yeah.
You just sit there and give out cheek.
But anyway,
and read out,
I had a really
read out your fans' comments.
I had a really sore eye, and then
aye.
And by the end of the day, I thought I'm going to have a look at it. It was poppy red. My eye, poppy red, and I think it's because I used an old mascara. So I had to go to the pharmacy to get some eye drops.
No, did they not say
go to a hospital? The point I was making is if I phoned 111 and said, "Oh, my eyes," but they'd have said, "Oh, go to the eye hospital or go to A&E." It was just a bit of conjunctivitis.
You should have phoned me. All I'd have said was put a bit of salt in some boiling water, let it cool down, and then using a clean ball of cotton wool, wipe your eye from the inside out.
I had antibiotics instead. And it's cleared it up, thanks.
Yeah, well, you didn't...
I don't think I'm going to... You're like my mother. She used to do things like that. Stick your head over a bowl of steaming water and that'll sort you out.
But it did.
She was Scottish as well.
Yeah, well, there you are.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Right. I've got to say goodbye to you, I think. But thank you very much indeed. Muldoon. See you soon, Muldoon. Coming up, though, in the next hour, it is over to you. This becomes your opportunity, your chance to talk back. And the question I'll be asking you is, should those who are over 60 before pension age have to pay for their prescriptions and their eye tests? There is some idea being mooted at the moment that over 60s will have to start paying for their prescriptions. Do you rely on those free prescriptions that you get when you're 60? Or do you think, no, hang on a minute, I am working, it's only fair, I should pay my way? Give me a call, 0344 499 1000, a message on 87222.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, and a very good morning to you. It is Petrie here with you for the next hour. And coming up, I want to talk to you, I want you to talk to me about this latest idea that is being mooted to scrape together some more money. Because Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, she's run out, basically. All that money she had, 22.9 billion, has all but gone. There's about $1 billion left. And so they're scrabbling around now because they've made lots of promises, haven't they, especially about the NHS, about how they're going to revolutionise the NHS. It's going to be these fabulous diagnostic hubs. None of it is costed, right? So they need more money. Where are they going to get it from, I wonder? Well, it's from us, of course, because they don't have any money of their own. So, you know, rather than cut back on some vanity projects or stop all these quangos that they've set up, no, They want us to pay, or rather they want you to pay if you're 60. Because at the moment, when you hit 60, you get 1 or 2 freebies, right? You get free prescriptions when you hit 60. You get free eye tests, NHS eye tests, when you hit 60. And probably in the city you're in, if you're in a city, you might get subsidised travel on buses and trams or tubes. You also get a pass, don't you, for train travel. So all of these things you can get when you reach 60. Now, Labour is suggesting, as the Tories have already tried, that they wanted to take that age 60 and match it with the pension age. So in other words, to raise it at the moment to 66, but then to 67, 68, 72, or whatever age it's going to be that people can retire in the future. So that you don't benefit at all by reaching 60. There's no benefits to that. You don't get free anything. So the idea would be to say to people who are 60, from now on, you will pay for your prescriptions until you reach pension age. So until you're whatever that pension age may be. So that's the idea. The other idea is potentially that they'll say to those who are already 60, you're all right, we'll keep paying for you, but if you're 59, you're not going to get the benefit of getting free anything when you're 60. So this is about prescriptions mainly, but you do know, like I do, that this opens the door for people like Sadiq Khan or Andy Burnham or whoever your mayor is or whoever's running your city or your area, that they're going to look again at cheap travel for older people. And they're going to say, no, that needs to be rationalised with the pension age. So you don't get anything until you hit pension age. And as we know, they want to increase that pension age until it reaches, I think, 72. So you won't get anything. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, according to them, you die fairly soon after reaching your pension age. Now, look, some people will say it's only right because if you're still working, if you're over 60 and you're still working, which you probably will be, unless you're a public servant of some description and you can retire early. But if you are not one of those fortunate people, then the chances are you are still working. So if you're working, you're earning. And if you're earning, you should pay for your prescriptions. But there are plenty of people who have to pay for their prescriptions, which isn't strictly true, actually, because when you look at the numbers, when you look at the figures, which are collected every year, 95.08 of all prescriptions, there's 1.2 million or something a year, 95% of that are exempt for some reason or another. Whether it's because you're pregnant, whether it's because you're a child, whether it's because you're pension age, whether it's because you're over 60 at the moment, for whatever reason, only about 4% of people actually pay the prescription. And in Scotland and in Wales, you don't pay for prescriptions at all, right? So this is an England issue. So a lot of people will question, well, why aren't prescriptions free anyway? I mean, they're not really making that much money. There's some extraordinary figures they're suggesting, but they're saying an impact assessment has estimated the change, not allowing people of 60 to get free prescriptions, would raise 225 million a year for the NHS. Because, of course, the NHS is just a sponge for money, isn't it? Or more than 2 billion over a decade for the sector, which swallows up currently about 190 billion of the national annual budget. So it would raise some money. And let's face it, Labour are going to need to be raising money because they haven't got any left. Do you think that if you're 60 and working, you should pay? You just should pay. That there's no excuse, really. So let me have a look at some of these numbers. Let me unpack some of these numbers for you. The analysis has revealed that the total cost to the NHS of exempt prescription items in England, so that's 95.08% of all prescriptions, costs the NHS £9.9 billion. So all those prescriptions that are exempt for various reasons costs the NHS nearly £10 billion a year, while the total cost of charged items, so the total money that they raise from people actually paying for their prescriptions, is £506 million. I find these figures absolutely astonishing. I don't know about you. But doctors and pharmacists are saying this is a false economy. This is stupid. This won't work. Because you'll have a lot of people... There is this idea, isn't there, from Keir Starmer and his cronies, that all people who are boomers, let's say, or even just a bit younger than boomers, are rich. That everybody's rich. You've got a house, maybe two, who knows? You've got a pension, you've got a private pension, you don't need winter fuel allowance, you don't need free prescriptions, nobody needs anything because you're all rich. There is that idea. And whether Keir Starmer is just playing to young people, those 16-year-olds who he thinks should have the right to vote at 16, to say, look what I'm doing to the old people, look, we're really smashing it to them. I don't know, but there definitely seems to be a disproportionate attempt to remove anything from people who are over the age of 60. But on the other hand, 60 is apparently the new 50. If you're working and you can afford it, pay. Give me a call. What do you think about the idea that you may well have to pay for your prescriptions as you reach 60? 0344 499 1000. Calls are charged at network rate, but we do call you back. And you can text the word talk and your message to 87222, which many of you have done. I'm going to read some of those in just a moment, but let's go to Paul first, who's in Horsham. Hello, Paul.
Hello.
Hello there. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Nice show, by the way.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say quickly, because I know you're on a tight time scale. What worries me is people over 60 that then have to start paying for prescriptions, who can't afford it for whatever reason, so skip on some of their medications, and end up going to doctor's surgery, NHS, wherever, and start, it's choked up as it is now, And
it is just ridiculous, isn't it? It is. It's just taking from Peter to pay Paul, or whatever the expression is. They may be able to get people to pay for those prescriptions, or that money will drop because people won't pay for the prescriptions, but you'll be paying far more in the NHS, won't you, in hospitals?
And on the other hand, because he's taken the winter discount away from pensioners, we're going to have some of those passing away. Some people can't pay their prescriptions. They'll be passing away. So Starmer, well, he'll be rubbing his hands together, won't he?
Yeah, I mean, look, they don't want older people. I mean, the older people are a drain. If you read a book called Freakonomics, it looks at economics from a really weird point of view, but it's nonetheless true that they don't want people to survive into old age, because if you do, you suddenly become really expensive. They would like us all probably to drop down dead at the age of 50.
Yeah.
Or what was the name of that film when people were killed? There was a futuristic movie. I can never remember it.
I know the film, can't remember the name.
And they went into a chamber and were killed at the age of 30, 35, something like that. What was it called? Ah, thank you, Adam. Logan's Run.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. That's what they want. And genuinely, economically, if we didn't... So that's why they want to keep raising the pension age, because obviously if you retire at 72, you know, what are the chances of you living another 10 years?
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you think they've got a problem with older people then?
Well, I'm only 62, but I'm not working. I'm on benefits. So
you get free prescriptions anyway?
I get them at the moment, but I did a basic calculation, a rough calculation. Mm-hmm. It's going to cost me about £80 a month if I have to start paying for it. On what the prescriptions are that I've got at the moment.
Because they're £10, basically 10 quid now. They're £9.90.
Yeah, I was basing it on £10. It's going to cost me 80 quid a month. Yeah.
I mean, you can pay in advance, can't you, on something that costs 120 quid a year?
Right. Okay, I have to look into that.
Yeah, look into that. There is a system whereby if you have to have a lot of prescriptions, you can pay this money and you get them all under that umbrella. But who's going to say they're not going to take that away?
Well, yeah, this is it, isn't it?
Yeah. So
you don't know what's round the corner with this guy.
No, you never know, do you? What about free travel? Do you get any free travel where you are?
Well, actually, strangely enough, this morning my blue badge came through.
Oh, well done.
That's worth a few bob, I guess. Saves a lot of grief and hassle. Travel on a train.
So you get...
It's not worth it. It's not worth my while because I don't really use a train. And if I paid, you have to pay a little bit up front and I'll be worse off because I don't use a train. So, and bus travel, no, there is no bus travel. Not for me. And I've got COPD. There's no free bus travel.
Really?
Yeah, really.
So that's not universal across the country then? Because if you're in London, you do get free buses. I think you have to wait until after 9 o'clock or something.
Right.
But you do, I think. And then you get... I don't know if you get your tubes free or subsidised, but you can travel. You get that as well, which is paid for by the Mayor of London.
Yeah,
well, it's paid for by
London, I'm in Horsham. It doesn't apply to me. No. I mean, we all get, whether you're disabled or not, we all get... I can get a bus from Horsham to Worthing for £3 each way. But, you know, that's for anybody. So that's quite cheap, really. It's not worth driving a car to Worthing from Horsham.
No, and then all the parking costs and all that.
Well, the parking probably costs £10 a day. It's not worth it. No.
But blue badge holders don't pay parking, right? Now that you've got it.
Sorry, say again?
Do blue badge holders pay for parking? I don't think so.
You have to read the rules and regs in the car park. Depends. If the car park belongs to a local council, you might get in for nothing. If it's privately owned, you probably will have to pay. I parked this morning in Horsham Hospital and I didn't have to pay because I was a blue badge holder.
Right.
But even if you're not a blue badge holder, if your car is tax exempt, which my car is, because I'm disabled, you don't have to pay.
Yeah, but like you said, you've got to spend half your time blooming well going through all of these signs. Apparently, you just ask your pharmacist for a prescription prepayment certificate. So, and they will give you this thing and you fill it in. But at the moment, you're okay. But it's worth knowing, isn't it, in case they change the rules?
Yes, as long as they don't stop that when they stop the when they start saying you.
That is my worry, is that they'll say we're going to take away the PPC as well. You can pay full whack, which would be really bad for the country's health. If they're going to try and save appointments and things like that, they need to make sure that people can afford the drugs that they've been prescribed by their doctors.
absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
I don't know where the country's going. I really don't.
Well, I do, and I can't say it. Paul, it's lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much. Paul in Horsham, again, he's concerned as well that if you've got to pay for a lot of prescriptions and you can't get this PPC or whatever it is, or that's taken away, whatever happens, that you will start to reduce the amount of medications that you take, that you've been told to take. Honestly, it can be very, very expensive. My prescriptions are the drugs that I take, the official ones, obviously. I don't do the others, but you know, it's expensive. It adds up really, really quickly, especially when now it's £9.90 an item. That is such, and no wonder, because only 4% of people are paying. So that 4% are being disproportionately punished because 95.08% of people are exempt, and 100% in Scotland and Wales. There you go. Got to take a break. Back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side.
Hi there, and a good morning to you. We're talking about the idea, I sort of had a very quick chat with John Boothman about this yesterday, about the very real probability that this Labour government is yet again going to hit older people in the pocket. Free NHS prescriptions when you reach the age of 60 looks to be set to change. To say that you won't get free prescriptions until you reach pension age. Now, this was a bit of an anomaly, and I have often wondered why you got free prescriptions at 60 even though you're still working. But it's because this was set when women used to retire at 60 and men older, and then they joined the two together, and it became that everybody, which is the right decision, should retire at the age of 65, as it was. It is now 66, it's going up to 67 very soon, and then very shortly after that going up to 68. So what they're going to do, what they want to do, the Tories talked about doing this as well, but there was such a backlash from people that they decided to drop it. That what they want to do is say you don't get free stuff, free prescriptions, until you reach your pension age. Now, some people might say, well, that is the right thing to do, because if you are 60 and you are working, then you're the same as somebody who's 50 and working. So why shouldn't you pay? There's no difference, actually. And it seems an anomaly and strange that you would get free prescriptions at the age of 60. Others, though, are saying, well, hang on a minute, as you get older, you get iller, and then you might have several conditions, or you might need more prescriptions than than a younger person. And that is certainly a very strong argument. And so therefore keep it at 60, because to keep the population between 60 and 66 healthy means that they'll get more tax, right? And there has definitely been some lines drawn between people having to pay for prescriptions. People with Parkinson's, by the way, and things like that still have to pay for their prescriptions. And you would have thought that that would be an exemption, but no, it's not. But they're saying that if they did allow people, let's take Parkinson's as an example here, if they did allow them free prescriptions, they would save the NHS £20 million a year, because those people would take their medication regularly, they would get their medication regularly, there wouldn't be a cost barrier to their health, and therefore they wouldn't get as ill as often, or catch infections or things that would see them taking up time and space in the NHS in other branches. So actually it saves money to allow people to have their prescriptions for free. In Scotland and in Wales, they do exactly that. You don't pay for your prescriptions. And they have obviously determined that because if you can keep people healthy by using the drugs that they've been told to use, then they stay healthy for longer and therefore make fewer demands on the NHS further down the line. So those are the arguments. But some people say, well, hang on a minute, yeah, it's odd. Why at 59 are you paying for prescriptions, but at 60 and you've still got the same job and you're still working the same hours, you're still earning the same money, at 60 you suddenly get them for free? Do you rely, are you over 60 and rely on your prescriptions being free? By the way, don't panic. Every other exemption will still exist. So if you're on disability, or you have an exemption because you're on universal credit, or you're on an exemption for any other reason, they will still, well, for now, they will stay in place. So don't panic about that. And of course, at the age of 66, as a pensioner, you will still get your prescriptions for free. It is just those people who are working, are not on any sort of benefit, and at 60, they suddenly are able to get free prescriptions. Those are the people that we're talking about who could potentially lose that benefit. Lucy in East Devon has said, I worry that the possibility of paying for prescriptions from the age of 60 will mean that those of us who are on multiple medications with no exemptions and on a minimum wage job, as I am, will start to choose which prescriptions they can afford to take. I completely see that. So, for example, if someone is on 5 different medications, they may be forced to pick up the 3 they feel are the most important. And this could be dangerous to health. And Lucy, you're absolutely right about that, because that is one of the concerns that many doctors and pharmacists are concerned about. And pharmacists have been saying that in the cost of living crisis, the only people who've been affected are those who are working and therefore don't have any exemptions. But they've noticed already that people are going into the pharmacy and saying, look, there's 5 of them there, I can only afford 30 quid, I can't afford the 50 quid or whatever. So, you know, which ones are the most important? And you really should argue that anything that has been prescribed to you is important, right? Except when Calpol is prescribed, that annoys me. People getting Calpol and paracetamol and things like that prescribed when you can pay pennies for them across the counter. But anyway, that's another topic for another day. But a lot of people are already making those decisions. So if you're 60, like I said, you're more likely perhaps to have more issues. So which way round is this going to work? But you know it's coming. I mean, I said it was going to come months ago, but I hate it when I'm right sometimes. But Lucy, I think you make a very, very strong point there. Let's go to Avril, who's in Bedford. Avril, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
Good, lovely to talk to you. What do you think? Do you think, look, hang on a minute, 60-year-olds are still working, they're still earning, they're no different to anybody else on a minimum wage job and in their 40s, 50s, they should pay?
They certainly should. I don't see why they shouldn't at all. You can get a 3-month prepaid for just over £30. So all you've got to do is have 4 items and you're on the way up in 3 months. You're covered. If you're getting 5 items a day, you would just go on 5 items, in one prescription, just go on the annual fee. It's only just over £11 a month.
I don't know your age, Avril. Do you?
I'm coming up 70.
Oh right, okay. So you.
I have benefited from the free prescriptions, but if you're on universal credit and all that, you're still going to get them. I can't see the problem with people who are actually earning money because of the pension thing. If they were on a pension at 60, they'd be getting them free. But the pension age has gone up, and we've suffered because of that. So, and now we've. I don't see why the ages should not be.
I mean, I do think that is a reasonable. It is a reasonable argument that you're no different to somebody in their 30s on low wages with no exemptions. They have to pay for their prescriptions.
But for £11 a month, I mean, I'm on a pension only. I get less than £12,000 a year. So I'm not somebody who's rich, just calling in, and saying. From my perspective, I've struggled all my life, and I don't see why, really, that a little bit should come off of the over 60s now.
You said, though, that you benefited from when you were 60. How much of a difference did it make to you? You said you struggled all your life.
It made no difference. I was only on one item a month anyway. So, it really didn't make much difference to me. It would have made, £10 a month, or every 2 months or something. So, it wouldn't have made that much.
And did you feel?
To me.
Did you feel that you should be paying for it at the time?
Well, you always accept what's free, don't you? You don't sort of question it. I haven't thought about it until it's sort of just come out now, really.
But there will be people who are going, oh, that's typical. You benefited from it, but you don't want...
Absolutely, I can see that. But also, we had to wait 6 years for our pension.
Yeah, you certainly did. You're a waspy woman.
We couldn't retire and do what we wanted and do volunteering and all that sort of thing. We had to carry on working at the last minute. So, there's a bit of fairness here and a fairness there. I don't see why people who earn and are not on any sort of benefits whatsoever can't find £10 a month.
It's really, but there will be a lot of people listening going, hang on a minute, up to the age of 60, you've been working all your life, hopefully paying all your taxes. Why shouldn't you get a little bit of something back?
Hello?
Hi. Yeah, just saying, there's a lot of people who are thinking, why shouldn't I get a little bit of something back? I've been working all my life.
Sorry, I lost you there for a minute.
Oh, just saying about the age of 60, there'll be people who say, well, I've worked all my life, why shouldn't I get a little bit of something back?
Well, you will when you get to 66, same as me.
Yeah, well, I guess so. Avril, thank you very much indeed. Avril from Bedford there. It is interesting. It always fascinates me, it really does, when I refer to it as pulling the ladder up. Once you've got to where you want to be and then you go, oh, no, I've got here, but you can't. So it's like Angela Rayner with her discounts on council houses, because she benefited from that, and now she's going, oh, no, you can't. That's interesting with me. Listen, give me a call. Do you think Avril's right? That actually, why not? Why not pay? You're working, pay for your prescriptions, just like people in their 30s are on minimum wage have to pay. They don't get an exemption from that. So why should you? 0344 499 1000.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, good morning. It's Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock, and we're talking at the moment about whether you think that anybody who reaches the age of 60 should be entitled to free prescriptions or not. This is because the Tories tried to do this, and now Labour are looking at doing the same thing, and that is removing those free prescriptions from people between the age of 60 and 66. You'll still get them if you're on any other exemption, but you won't get them until you reach pension age if you're not on any of the other exemptions. So if you've just reached 60 and you've gone, I've just got my prescriptions for free, that might be a thing very soon of the past. And one of the reasons is, of course, that all those promises that we've been made about the NHS were entirely uncosted. The money that was given to the NHS already, that huge billions that were given to the NHS already, that's for that. If we're going to have these hubs or whatever it is that Keir, no idea, Keir was talking about, they have not been costed, right? So they're going to need to find the money from somewhere. And one of the ideas is to remove free prescriptions from people who are 60. Now, if this government gets away with that and brings that in, what's the bet? Right, I'd level a bet with you now, actually, that within seconds, minutes, days or weeks, the Mayor of London will do the same on transport costs and say, no, you can't have free transport at the age of 60. You'll have to wait until you are retired and of pension age. And that will go for other things, that other freebies that you might get at 60. For example, eye tests at the age of 60. NHS eye tests, apparently, you get for free. So all of those things, because what they're going to try and do, these are in place at 60 because that's when women used to retire. Then when they ratified that and made this age the same for men and women, they left prescriptions and other bits and freebies at 60. And now they're trying to drag that to pension age. So a lot of people will say, well, that's the right thing to do. It should have been done at the time. Why wasn't it done at the time? And then we wouldn't have anything to talk about. But it wasn't. And so people do expect at 60 maybe to get a little bit back, maybe, from what they've paid in. But of course there isn't any money. Rachel Reeves has run out of money. She's got about £1 billion left of that 22.9 billion that she borrowed. So there ain't no cash. There's no money. And already the papers are saying she's going to come back to the people of this country for tax. And we knew that was going to happen with Labour. It always does, tax and spend, tax and spend. So the way they'll start nibbling away, presumably, is things like this, where they say, well, we can nibble back 225 million a year from that pot. We can take money from that pot and bring that in, and anybody who's getting, anything from between 60 and 66, we can take that all away because they're working. And you've got to work because you can't retire in this country. I think I'll probably still be here when I'm 80, if you'll have me. So you just can't retire. So is this next? Well, I would put money on the table to say it is next. And as soon as it's done, all the others will jump on the bandwagon and say, right, we'll take away free travel, we'll take away eye tests, all of those things is all going to be available to you when you retire. And as we know, that retirement age is moving further and further and further away. And the very young people who work in the control room in front of me here, they'll have to wait until they're in their 70s before they can retire. I don't know why I'm laughing, because I'll be nearly 70 as well, probably. But anyway, this is ridiculous. So you pay all this money all your life into this bottomless pit, and you get nothing back from it. Or you get institutions that are failing and not working properly, and It just feels like a thankless task, doesn't it? Angie, by the way, Paul, if you're still listening, which I trust you are, Angie has messaged in and said, please let Paul from Horsham and anyone else that you can apply for a medical exemption certificate for free prescriptions for certain conditions and disabilities if you can't go out alone, for example, from your doctor. It lasts for 5 years and you don't need to pay up front. You don't have to be an OAP to get it. So check whether you, with your GP, next time you're in, to see if you're one of those people who can get an exemption for 5 years on the condition that you have. And I believe anybody who has cancer, for example, is also exempt, but do check for yourself. There's loads of messages coming through. Let me go to Matt in Cheshire first, and then we'll read some more of your messages. Matt, good morning.
Good morning, Petrie. During COVID and the lockdowns, Keir Starmer was persistently badgering the Conservative government to spend more money, to give people more uplifts on universal credit, to have longer lockdowns, and doctors were handing out prescriptions like sweets that probably cost us millions, if not billions of pounds, when people could just ring the doctor and the doctor would hand them over like they'd never done before without having to go into the surgery.
Yeah, true.
So if that had never happened, this probably wouldn't be necessary now. So Labour, as always, are flailing all over the place like students who are sort of drunk with a pad or something like that.
Well, they're just picking people's pockets. I mean, it's just, I just don't. Do they not think we're taxed enough, that we pay enough? They don't, you know. And this is the thing. You look at all the taxes that you pay. You pay VAT. You pay on when you earn. You pay when you spend. You pay when you save. For goodness' sake, there's no point at which a pound is worth a pound anymore. It's probably worth about 30 pence by the amount of taxation that we have, and they want to take more and more and more and more. I just don't know when they will realise that we've bled enough.
In a way, it's a good thing because it draws a dividing line, because the opposition parties can just say, we'll restore all these things when we get in, when inevitably...
Yeah, but then they never do, do they? They always think they will, and they go, oh, no, sorry, we can't do that.
But just saying it will be better than Labour not doing it. And I think it's quite obvious now that Labour won't be in power for a generation after this Parliament.
Well, it depends. If they take away the need for IDs when you go to vote and they allow 16-year-olds to vote, they're going to do their very best to feather the nest for themselves, aren't they?
Young people have grandmas and mothers.
Very true.
And all those people have relations and sisters and aunties, and young people are turning away from Labour. But let's put it this way, they're signing their own sick note or death warrant, you know. The hatred towards the British public is palpable, and Keir Starmer's got some kind of Stalin fetish or something like that.
But you know, it's extraordinary, Matt. I'm gobsmacked at how out of touch that man genuinely is. Anne Reeves, I just don't understand, genuinely, and not being minxy. I just don't get it. Who is he talking to? You know, why does he think this is all okay to behave like this?
I spoke to Peter Cardwell numerous times about Keir Starmer was going to be an absolute nightmare. I said he was the most soulless, vacuous, sort of empty husk of a man you've ever seen. We should draw a line in the sand with Keir Starmer that we never have anybody as, I don't know, I was just to say vile, and sort of he puts on this face of, I'm quite innocent, but you can tell there's just something ridiculously horrific about him.
Well, look, it's no coincidence that he was very close to Jeremy Corbyn, and a lot of these things are very Corbyn-esque that he's coming out with now. But I once I was working at a different organisation, and they said, "You've got Keir Starmer coming in for an interview," and I was like, "Well, he's coming into the studio," and they went, "Yeah," and they brought him in during the break, which meant that I had a minute or two in the company of this man before I then had to go professional and interview him. I don't think I've ever met somebody with such a lack of substance in my life. I promise you. He was like a personality vacuum. There was nothing there. And like the word you use, I absolutely love, a husk.
You can literally see that in his face.
He's a husk. I couldn't believe it. I tried to make small talk with him, like you do. It's a bit awkward. Hi, thank you for coming in. How was your journey? All that. Nothing. He was like a husk, a vacuum of a man. The only other person that I've met who's been close was Ian Duncan Smith. But we don't like each other, so it's fine. But yeah, I agree with Starmer. I don't. He won't survive until the next election anyway. His lot will get him out.
Well, I say one thing about Corbyn. I don't agree with him on anything, but at least he believes in what he believes in, and he has principles, and he genuinely seemed like quite a warm man. Starmer trampled all over him. He used him. He then used Labour voters to become Labour leader. And now he's spitting all over the British public as well. He's probably the most disgusting man that I've ever encountered in any walk of life.
It is extraordinary how unpopular he is as well.
I'm loving it. I'd rather watch him fall apart incrementally than have like a big sort of. It's almost better for it to take a while, because it's worse for him, if you like.
Do you know what though? I think he thinks he's brilliant. I think he thinks he's it. Right, it's what we used to say at school. You think you're it, but I think he thinks he's great.
Well, that means he's a psychotic narcissist, doesn't it?
I shall remain neutral on that point, but yeah, it probably does. Matt, it's brilliant to talk to you. Please do call again. That's very blunt, but I liked it. I've got to take a break, but Matt, thank you. Back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and it's Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. Loads and loads of messages which I want to try and get through. Some of them, so many of you have messaged in. Martin saying, do people in Scotland and Wales still get free prescriptions? If so, maybe they should start paying. Yes, they do, and they get that because of the Barnett formula. So the Barnett formula, just a very brief explanation on this, is a system by which the money that is made, let's say in the City of London or in the UK, is divided into the various different areas. So Wales and Scotland, for example, and the devolved areas, so and Northern Ireland. So the Barnett formula decided how much each person should get according to that formula. I think in Scotland, each person gets somewhere in the region of 3,000. In England, we get somewhere in the region of 1 and a bit thousand. I can't remember what it is for Wales. I haven't looked this up for a while, as you can tell. So we give all that money to Scotland and we give the money to Wales and to Northern Ireland, right? And they've earned bits of it as well, right? It's not just England being kind. But that's how it was worked out. And then Scotland decides what it spends that money on, and Wales, since you asked about those two devolved areas, decides what they spend their money on. And so Scotland and Wales have decided that part of the money, that part of the use of that money they will spend is on giving their people free prescriptions. So it's not as simple as they should start paying. It's because they're devolved and they get this money per person, but to the government of that area, of that country, and then the government decides what that money is spent on, basically. So they gift free prescriptions, and we decided not to. So that's the reason there. But also, they could save money if MPs' expenses were removed. That would save millions. Or at least clipped. Just a little bit. This message just said, I'm so unhappy in this country at the moment to see how hard my parents worked for this country and are getting little help with poor services. And that's the point, isn't it? They keep squeezing us and squeezing us and squeezing us until there's nothing left. As far as I'm concerned, everyone should pay for prescriptions. If you get benefits, pay a reduced amount. Car tax, the lot. I feel sorry for myself as I realise I'm the fool. I'm sick of it. And a lot of people who have to pay for everything do feel like that because there are so many people who don't pay for anything. Anyway, these prepayment certificates, Derek says, I have one of those. It costs £12 a month, direct debit. I can get about 7 items a month. That's from Derek in Manchester. We've read Angie's. We should have been pensioners at 60 and got it free then, but they moved the goalposts while Starmer is still getting his freebies, and that's from Jack. Yep. And there's all sorts of issues with this that just seem to be, it's just unfair, but I feel like a child going, it's not fair, but it isn't fair. Oh, here we go. What's this one? I worry that the possibility of paying for prescriptions from the age of 60 will mean that those of us who are on multiple medications with no exemptions and on a minimum wage job, as I am, will start to choose which prescriptions they can afford. Oh, that was Lucy. We read that one. Yeah, it is... if you want over 60s to carry on working, then free prescriptions are essential. This is from Andrew. Don't forget, many who still work would be on a low wage or do menial jobs, and taking away free prescriptions would force them onto benefits. Well, that's the only way you get everything, isn't it? Once you've got a benefit, you get everything else free. So why not? Why not do that? Why aren't we all doing that? Stupid that we don't. Just because, here we go, this is another one, just want to read this. Just because some people work over 60 does not mean they earn a lot. There are a lot who work part-time, as it's all they have the strength to do, but are not entitled to benefits. They may live alone with everything going up so much it will be the last straw, the straw that broke the camel's back, as people cannot cut back any more. I have no internet, no TV, and I've not had a holiday for 20 years. I don't drink or go out except to work part-time. I do not smoke or vape. It would be a problem if they did implement it because some people have 10 prescriptions. They just want to get rid of older people. And that's from Jay. And it does feel like that, doesn't it? They've convinced themselves somehow that everybody over the age of 60 is miraculously rich and can afford to have these things taken away from them. But that is a very good point there. I mean, if you do have 10 prescriptions, then there is that prepay system. But still, if you're that broke, even £11 a month is something else you've got to find on top of the heating bills going up, food bills going up, tax going up, all of the other things going up. It's another £11. There's no point saying, well, it's only £11, because for some people, only £11 will make a massive difference. And if you're saying that, you're probably somebody who can afford those prescriptions. So that's the way it looks. Stephen is in London. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, Petrie. What really gets me about this is that something a bit different. The fact that he's taking this away from people who are 60, but meanwhile he's got a tax-free pension himself. It's like, I'm all right, Jack. Sod the rest of you.
But yeah, I mean, and the first thing he did, wasn't it, was to sort out his pension, and hope that nobody really noticed. But yeah, I mean, look, he's really rich. Right, he's rich. He's rich in his own right. So he probably does think that everybody over 60 is... How old is Starmer? Can we look at that? Look, Gabriella, can you look up... Oh, they're not listening. They're talking. How old is Keir Starmer? Do we know?
I think he's 60, 61, or something like that.
Is he? I thought he was younger than that.
No, I think he's 60, 61. I'm not sure. Maybe he's late, maybe 58, 59.
Oh, he's 62. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he would lose 3 prescriptions.
Yeah, well, what you were talking about him being a husk, I've spoken to you before, I'm a psychologist, and he seems to me in everything he does, he's a very typical psychopath in that he doesn't seem to have any conscience. So what
or empathy. Or empathy.
Or guilt, or feelings of guilt. Psychopaths just... do what's best for them, and they don't care about the consequences. They don't feel any guilt if they've used people. For psychopaths, it's like you and I would use a chair. We want to get something from a top shelf. We'll stand on a chair, and we won't feel, oh, the poor chair, I'm treading on it. Well, psychopaths feel that about people.
Yeah, and some of the most powerful people in the world are indeed psychopaths. There's a suggestion that Winston Churchill was, because he wouldn't have been able to send all of those men to their deaths had he not been. So being a psychopath isn't people always think of murderers and really bad people. There's somebody assessed Richard Branson and said that he was had psychopathic tendencies, and you can see that in Donald Trump perhaps with narcissistic tendencies as well. So it's interesting that it is a character type that often makes it to the top of their career because they don't care who they tread on the way up. They don't feel any sadness or remorse for doing that.
Yeah, well, I don't know if those people you mentioned are. I mean, if you're a leader of a country, you have to send people to war, don't you? Stalin is an obvious example of a psychopath. He would just kill people in his way.
I had a boss that was definitely a psychopath in one of the radio stations I worked in for quite a while. Definitely. He was absolutely... You could see him faking emotion. If he got angry, he didn't just go, oh, he would have to act it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So he would get really angry and kick a bin, or and you could see that it wasn't real. But he had learned through his youth that he had to fake emotion, and unfortunately, he was my boss for quite some years. Horrible man.
To go through that, but another point is about a 60-year-old, if they're working, well, how are they different from a 30-year-old or 40-year-old, etc. Well, some people, as you get older, as you've pointed out, as you get older, you have to spend more on prescriptions, you're more likely to get ill, and people may be just living on enough income